3 different witnesses described the same small, glowing-eyed creature roaming through Dover, Massachusetts at night. A man opens his door to something with 3 legs, scratching to get in, and a family fires point blank at horrifying monsters that barely react. Back in April of 1977, a teenager named Bill Bartlett was driving down a quiet road in Dover, Massachusetts. It was late, around 10:30 at night. As he was driving along, his headlights hit something standing on a low stone wall. At first he figured it was just a dog, maybe a big cat, but when he got closer, he realized this thing didn't look like any animal he'd ever seen. It was small, maybe 3 or 4 feet tall, but its body was all wrong. He said it had this giant head shaped like a watermelon, and its arms and legs were super thin and long. The creepiest part was the eyes, though. Bill said they looked like 2 glowing orange marbles staring back at him. It didn't have a nose, a mouth, or even ears, just those big eyes and a big head, and its skin was lizard-like, almost like wet sandpaper. Billy only saw it for a few seconds before he kept driving, but Bill wasn't the only one who saw it. A couple hours later, another kid named John Baxter was walking home about a mile away. He saw a small figure coming toward him in the dark. He thought it was a friend and called out, but the thing didn't say anything. When it got close, it suddenly bolted into the woods. Then the very next night, a girl named Abby Brabham saw the same thing while she was out driving. And here's what's really interesting. When investigators looked at a map, they noticed that all 3 sightings happened in a straight line across town. The sightings made sense, and none of these kids knew each other. It wasn't like this was a coordinated hoax, which made it even crazier when all 3 witnesses drew pictures for police of what they saw, and even though they hadn't talked to each other yet, the drawings looked almost exactly the same. In the late 1800s, specifically September of 1891, some guys were out early in the morning delivering ice in Crawfordsville, Indiana. They looked up and saw something that probably made them want to quit their jobs right then and there. It was this huge, white, blurry thing floating in the sky. They said it was about 18 feet long, but it wasn't solid like a plane or a bird, more like a giant swimming jellyfish, but it was up in the air. It had these weird fins, like long bits, hanging off it as it moved and drifted. It was completely silent, too. Now, if you think these guys might have been on something, I mean, that's a perfectly understandable thought to have, but they weren't the only ones who saw it. A local preacher saw it, too. Now, some tried to say it was just a big flock of birds, maybe some trash blowing in the wind, but the people who saw it up close said absolutely not. To this day, nobody has a clue what the giant sky jellyfish thing actually was, but some wonder today if what they were actually seeing may have been a UFO. It started one night in April of 1973 in Enfield, Illinois. A boy named Greg Garrett was playing outside. He claimed something attacked him, shredding his shoes and jumping on his feet. He said the thing had 3 legs, and a few hours later, a man named Henry McDaniel heard a scratching sound at his front door. He opened it up, thinking maybe it was a stray dog, but instead he saw this monster. Henry said it had a short body, tiny little arms sticking out of its chest, and it had 3 legs. He said the eyes were pink and as big as flashlights. Henry grabbed his firearm and shot at it. The thing just took off, not running, but hopping. He said it was jumping 20 or 25 feet in a single leap. When the police showed up to check the yard, they actually found footprints. They weren't normal tracks though. They had 6 toes. Nobody had any idea what this animal could be. And other people in town started seeing it too, always describing that same weird hopping movement. But then, just as fast as the reports began, they stopped. What was that creature hopping around Enfield that April? Nobody knows. But it's got to be one of the strangest cryptid stories I've ever heard of. In September 1952 in Flatwoods, West Virginia, 2 young brothers, Edward and Fred May, along with their friend Tommy Hayer, saw a streak of light go across the sky and crash into a hill nearby. Grabbed their mom, and a couple other kids joined too, as they all went to see what it was. When they got to the top of the hill, the air smelled like burnt metal. Then their flashlights hit something in the dark. They saw this giant figure, way taller than a man, maybe 7 feet tall. It had a glowing red face and a very oddly shaped head. They described it like a spade on a playing card. Its body looked like it was wearing a dark cloak or a skirt. The thing didn't appear to have feet, it just kind of floated toward them. The group immediately turned and booked it back down the hill, but the story didn't end there. See, for days afterward, the people who were there got really sick. They were puking, their throats were all scratched up and sore. Later on, the government tried to say they just saw a barn owl sitting on a tree limb and got scared by the shadows, but none of the witnesses were buying that lazy excuse. An owl isn't 7 feet tall, and looking at an owl doesn't make you sick to your stomach for a week.
Folklore says the sea god gods send an oarfish before disaster. This one arrived just hours after a night of typhoon-driven waves. Villagers in Albi awoke to a 4-meter giant oarfish rippling like silver ribbon on the beach. The fish's fragile bones and scaleless body make it prone to injury from turbulent upwelling. Local legend claims oarfish herald earthquakes. Scientists counter that storm damage and pressure trauma are likelier culprits. Still, the rarity of seeing a deep-sea sea serpent alive made headlines worldwide, and fair enough. Seeing one of these things really makes you understand where the tales of sea serpents come from. Half the carcass was unfortunately sold at the fish market before biologists could secure samples, underscoring how quickly folklore can mix with fisheries when curiosity meets commerce. 3 brothers scouting dive spots nearly drove over a 14-foot giant squid sprawled across the asphalt. A fierce Antarctic blast pummeled Wellington's south coast, and the next low tide revealed a giant squid. Mantle 4.2 meters, tentacles shredded by rocks at Red Rocks Reserve. Divers Jack, Daniel, and Matthew Applin phoned NIWA scientists who measured beak size to confirm full adult status. Extreme low-pressure systems can stun deep-dwelling squid, causing fatal buoyancy loss that sends them rocketing to the surface like balloons. Samples from this individual fed into global DNA studies mapping giant squid populations, turning a freak beach day into a data windfall for cephalopod science. Subsea cameras caught an octopus literally white-knuckling basalt as 40-foot waves smashed the surface above. During November's bomb cyclone, Ocean Networks Canada's observatory at Folger Pinnacle filmed a giant Pacific octopus flattening itself against rock outcrops while currents whipped kelp sideways. The cephalopod folded its web between arms, reducing drag, a behavior scientists had hypothesized but never observed before. Sensors recorded dissolved oxygen drops and turbidity spikes, offering rare paired data on how extreme weather affects benthic hunters. When conditions calmed 18 hours later, the octopus released its death grip and glided off unscathed, proving storm survival is possible hundreds of feet down, especially if you have 8 anchors. Commuters thought the tentacled blob in the elevator bay was a Halloween prank until it darted for a floor drain. A seasonal king tide amplified by offshore squalls pushed seawater through storm water drains onto a multi-story garage on 14th Street in Miami Beach in 2016. Along for the ride was a common octopus roughly the size of a dinner plate. Photos hit Twitter, prompting city staff to trap the animal in a bucket and return it to the bay. Marine engineers later used the incident to illustrate how rising seas and heavier rain events can convert drainage systems into reverse fire hoses, complete with free swimming hitchhikers. Deputies responding to dune-crushing surf found a fish wider than an SUV pancaked in ankle-deep foam. February's potent nor'easter funneled 15-foot breakers onto Volusia County, beaching a mola mola, or an ocean sunfish, weighing an estimated 300 kilograms. Body cam video shows officers comparing the fish to a slimy Roomba while using a stretcher board and rip current timing to slide it back into deeper water. According to NOAA, sunfish lack swim bladders and rely on dive and glide routines. Sudden pressure changes during storms can leave them stuck near the surface and vulnerable to shoreward currents. The fish powered off once afloat, closing our list with a rare, happy ending caught on official tape.
Mermaids are probably the most popular mythical creatures to date, with origin stories coming from just about every corner of the globe. And just in case you've been living under an actual boulder, mermaids are humanoid mammal fish that generally come with the top half of a beautiful woman and the bottom half of some kind of mix between dolphins and marlin. Also known as sirens and said to be quite the charmers with a nice set of pipes, as thousands of stories exist about the creatures luring sailors to their watery death with nothing more than their beauty and a song. I guess beauty really is in the eye of the drunken sailor, because it appears as though what was once thought to be a creature of ultimate fantasy is actually just a manatee, or dugong, also referred to as a sea cow. So, myth busted? Well, the thing is, manatees are generally only found in waters of about 3 to 7 feet deep, maximum 10 to 17, which kind of begs the question, are we really sure that a dugong is all the sailors saw out on the rolling deep sea in the dead of night? Well, I'll put it to you this way. To date, only 5% of the ocean has been explored, so we never really know. Next up, we have the Lernaean hydra, a creature that finds its origins based in Greek mythology. The hydra is said to have been birthed by the mother and father of monsters, and to have 3 to 7 heads, toxic breath and blood, as well as regenerative and immortal properties. Hercules was the one to defeat the creature in a daring battle in which he cut off the monsters' heads only to watch in horror as they grew back stronger. Eventually, however, Hercules realized that by cauterizing the point of breakage between neck and head, he no longer had this problem. As Hercules came closer to victory, the mother of the beast, fearful for its demise, sent a giant crab down to the river in which the snake-like creature lived in order to assist it in the battle. But success was not given to the monsters that day as they both perished in the fight. A 3-headed corn snake, appropriately named none other than Hydra, is our modern-day version of the giant reptilian creature. The 3 heads are due to a phenomenon referred to as polycephaly that creates mutations within the animals. What do you think? So, you know the giant crab I mentioned just a minute ago? Well, yeah, that's actually real too. Surprise! This mythical creature comes to us in the form of a Japanese spider crab. These monsters that come from the deep sea are massive, with a possible leg span of up to 13 feet across and a diet that consists of dead or decaying fish. So basically corpses. Not only that, but the creatures are said to be immortal as they are thought to live for over 100 years and also have the ability to regenerate their limbs. Another fun fact, when the giant crab reaches adulthood, its center body stops growing, but just like human ears and noses, its legs will continue to grow throughout its lifespan. Oh, and females of the species can also lay up to 1.5 million eggs within a single birthing season. So, yeah. Super cool. Next on the list, we have the ningen, a staple of mid-2000s Japanese folklore. This aquatic whale-like humanoid is said to roam throughout the icy waters of the Antarctic region. The creature was reportedly first sighted by both Japanese fishing and research vessels claiming to have seen the human-like figures within the waters beneath their boats. The ningen, which means human in Japanese, is said to be somewhere between 60 and 90 feet long, meaning it's ginormous, and many people believe the animal's existence is being covered up by the government because of the fact that the original video said to have captured the ningen has since been wiped from all corners of the internet. However, it appears that 3 photographs do still remain available for our viewing pleasure. One, taken from a remote-operated camera that depicts the creature in a greenish glow, another from an aerial view showing off its massive size, and one more captured through ROV, remote-operated vehicle footage, depicting the creature floating eerily in the dark of the deep sea. At our halfway point, we have the jackalope. Believe it or not, the horned rabbit is in fact real, and also way creepier than we thought. The legend of the jackalope found its origins in North American folklore, described as a jackrabbit with the horns of an antelope. While some cultures view the animal as an omen of bad luck, others view it as a sign of good fortune. In reality, it's actually neither. I mean, it's kind of bad luck for the rabbit, as the occurrence of the horns, which look more like random spikes than antelope antlers, is due to a disease called Shope virus, which originally appeared in cottontails, not jackrabbits, and is closely related to the HPV virus. However, the Shope strain is non-transmittable from animals to humans. The disease, which causes hard, dark warts to grow on the face of cottontails, has now also been found within bush rabbits, black-tailed jackrabbits, snowshoe hares, European rabbits, and even domestic ones too.
The morning after Hurricane Harvey sounded like a war zone, until someone noticed a mouthful of daggers half buried in the mud. When birder Preeti Deze walked Texas City Beach to survey storm damage, she found what looked like a fanged sea snake curled in a crater of sludge. Twitter sleuthing reached Dr. Kenneth Teague at the Smithsonian, who identified the corpse as a fang-toothed snake eel, a deep-sea ambush predator usually hiding 100 meters or 330 feet down. Harvey's 12-foot surge and 800-mile-per-hour winds effectively vacuumed the eel from its burrow and launched it ashore. Biologists noted that the soft, scaleless skin meant the eel would have shredded easily without the storm's sudden hydraulic punch, making Harvey one of the only reasons we've ever seen this species topside. Forget Hollywood hoaxes. This time the shark thrashing through a front yard was verified frame by frame. As Ian's storm surge turned cul-de-sacs into canals, resident Dominic Cameretta shot cell phone footage of a dorsal fin carving across floodwater outside his window. Snopes, marine biologists, and the Associated Press reviewed the clip and matched its outline to a juvenile black tip or bull shark displaced by a 12-foot surge. The fish, around 4 feet long, likely entered the flooded estuary chasing mullet, then rode the surge inland. When the waters receded, the shark was flushed back toward the river, but not before racking up 20 million TikTok views. Imagine walking on empty seabed only to spot two 1-ton mercows heaving for breath in the blazing sun. Hurricane Irma's low-pressure eye literally sucked Sarasota Bay out to sea, leaving bare mudflats and 2 adult manatees stranded like overturned trucks. Photos posted by locals went viral, summoning dozens of volunteers who rolled the 3-meter mammals onto tarps and slid them 100 meters back to deep water. Experts explained that rapid barometric drops can disorient manatees, which surface to breathe and then they find the waterline suddenly gone. Thanks to quick community action, both animals survived, turning a potential tragedy into a feel-good rescue amid the Category 4 chaos. Anglers casting into chocolate brown surf suddenly watched a 16-foot shadow backflip beside the pier. 3 days after Hurricane Sally's eye wall shredded Alabama's coast, fishermen near Fort Morgan filmed a giant oceanic manta ray executing barrel rolls only 30 meters from shore. Normally roaming tropical open oceans, these giants follow plankton blooms. Sally's 20 inches of rain washed a banquet of nutrients into nearshore waters. Marine ecologists say the storm's churning mixed warm Gulf surface layers downward, creating the temperature gradient mantas prefer. The surprise cameo added storm-chasing manta to the list of Sally's bizarre side effects and offered researchers a rare northern Gulf sighting for the species tracking database. Lightning flashes, and in that split second you see a dinosaur coasting past your SUV. Tina Lambert Bennett's doorbell cam captured a 3.5 meter or 12-foot American alligator paddling down her flooded driveway as Hurricane Sally's surge peaked at 6 feet. Alligators tolerate brackish water for short periods, so coastal storms can lift them out of bayous and onto urban streets. Wildlife officials later tracked the reptile back to Little Lagoon marshland once waters subsided. A Reuters fact check traced the footage's origin after copycats falsely claimed it showed other storms, proof that Sally's viral gator remains the gold standard for see you later alligator content.
Dinosaurs are extinct, right? I mean, of course they are. Well, you wouldn't think so if you saw a Chinese giant salamander. They really do look like creatures that would have been roaming the earth during the time of the dinosaurs, and they actually did. The Chinese giant salamander has been around since the Jurassic period, about 170 million years ago. There are 2 main types of giant salamanders, one native to Japan and the other native to China. The Chinese giant salamanders are slightly larger. In fact, they're the world's largest amphibians living in freshwater habitats. They can reach almost 6 feet in length, weighing a little over 100 pounds. Now, seeing a salamander that big and hefty would be alarming enough as it is, but there's another freaky thing about these creatures, and that's the sounds that they're known to make. Their vocalizations have been described in a few different ways. Sometimes it sounds like a bark or a hissing sound, but most eerily is the high-pitched crying noise they're said to make, almost like a human child. Gotta say though, I kind of find these things cute in their own odd way. Just look at this absolute beast of a fish. Has this image been photoshopped? Well, actually, no. This is a real giant catfish, the Mekong giant catfish, one of the largest species of freshwater fish in the entire world. These things can grow as big as a small car, easily hitting lengths of 9.8 feet and weighing up to 770 pounds. Not Not only that, but they've also been known to live for a pretty long time. Some have been around for decades, up to 60 years. That's a pretty good lifespan for a fish. In terms of appearance, they're not really all that flashy. They look kind of weird. They have this distinctive silver color that makes them stand out. Their mouths are broad and equipped for bottom feeding. They're built for efficiency rather than looks, obviously. One of the largest freshwater fish ever caught was an 8'10" female makong in Thailand, weighing 646 pounds in 2005. The giant golden crowned flying fox is a species of megabat native to the Philippines. It's one of the largest bat species in the world. Its wingspan can reach up to 5.5 feet. So this thing could easily wrap its wings around a fully grown person, and picturing that kind of makes me shudder. Now, luckily, these are one of those bat species that do have those cute dog-like faces. If these things looked more like a vampire bat, I'd just never go to this part of the world. Watching these things fly through the air, though, they almost look like gargoyles or some kind of prehistoric beast. They have some pretty gnarly claws, too, but luckily they don't eat meat. The last thing you'd need is one of these things swooping down from the air, trying to take a bite out of your head or flying off with your dog. Next up, we have the coelacanth. And aside from how creepy these things are, there's an interesting story behind them. The coelacanth was discovered, or actually rediscovered, in the deep waters of the Indian Ocean in 1938. And I say rediscovered because until that point, only fossils had been found. Scientists at the time thought that they'd gone extinct millions of years before. On December 23rd of 1938, a living coelacanth was found in a local fisherman's net. They've been swimming around for 340 to 4 million years. That's pretty spectacular, but kind of hard to believe. Another cool thing about these ancient fish is that many scientists think these things bridged the gap between fish and four-legged land-dwelling animals. They have 4 fins that extend away from their bodies, almost like legs, and they move in that alternating pattern you see with 4-legged animals as well. The Frogmen of Loveland, Ohio. Sounds more like a meme than a genuine cryptid report, but several people really did claim to see a large bipedal frog in Loveland, Ohio. The first time anyone saw it was back in the 50s, when a guy said he saw 3 little frog people standing by the river. That sighting was reported in the paper, but beyond that, didn't get a lot of coverage. Most people probably just thought he was out of his mind. That is until 1972, when a police officer was driving late at night and saw something huddled by the side of the road. He thought it was an injured animal, but when he got close, the thing stood up. He said it was about 3 or 4 feet tall, had leathery skin, and a face that looked exactly like a giant frog. A different cop saw the same thing a little while later in the same area. Some stories say one of the officers even fired at it, but it hopped away into the water. Years and years later, one of the guys said maybe it was just a big pet iguana that had escaped and lost its tail. That sounds like a good explanation, I guess, but there are a few problems. First, it's way too cold in Ohio for an iguana to be hanging out in the middle of the night. Second, iguanas aren't really known for standing up on 2 legs and hopping. In May 1971, a family in Fouke, Arkansas had a terrifying night. They lived near the swamp. They started hearing weird noises outside their house after the sun went down. A man named Bobby Ford went out on the porch to see what was going on, and the porch light hit something huge. He said it was a giant, hairy creature, maybe 7 feet tall, with glowing red eyes. Before he could even move, the thing jumped at him and scratched his shoulder through his shirt. He scrambled back inside, and the family called the cops. When the police got there, they found actual proof that something had been there. There were huge footprints all around the house, some of them 14 inches long. The porch was banged up, and you could see where something heavy had pushed through the bushes. After that, everyone in town started seeing it. They all said the same thing. It was big, smelled terrible, like rotting garbage, and you could hear its heavy footsteps at night. People compared it to Bigfoot, but nobody could ever prove what it was, even though they found plenty of tracks in the mud. This story from 1955 is one of the strangest, most infamous alien encounter reports ever made. The Sutton family lived in a farmhouse in Kentucky, and one night they came screaming into the police station saying they'd been attacked. They said a glowing object landed in the woods, and then these little men started coming out of the trees. They were small, maybe 3 feet tall, with huge ears and glowing eyes. Their skin looked like shiny metal. Family was terrified. They stayed inside and watched as these things terrorized them, peeking through the windows, climbing onto their roof. The men in the family grabbed their rifles and started firing at them through the windows and doors. They said that whenever they were hit, hit, it would just flip backwards and run back into the woods, totally unaffected. When the police went to the farm, they found bullet holes everywhere and shells all over the floor, but no bodies of any animals. From 1764 to 1767, in a part of France called Gévaudan, something truly scary was happening. For those 3 years, a wolf-like monster was hunting people. And I say wolf-like because it wasn't a regular wolf. It was way bigger, with reddish fur and a giant chest, and even creepier, it didn't seem interested in livestock. It only wanted to attack people. It killed over 100 people during that time, and some put the number as high as 300. The whole country was terrified. It got so bad that the King of France actually sent his best hunters and soldiers to find it. And they killed a few big wolves, but seemingly not the right ones. The attacks kept happening. Finally, a hunter named Jean Chastel fired at a massive animal with a silver bullet, and the attacks finally stopped. Now, what I love about this story is that unlike most cryptid legends, this one had a real body count. You can say it was just a really mean, oversized wolf, but it's also possible it was something else. In 1996 in Varginha, Brazil, these 3 women were walking through a vacant lot when they saw something crouched down by a wall. Some sort of creature, and it looked like it was in pain. They said it was about 4 or 5 feet tall, with brown skin that looked oily or greasy. It also had 3 weird bumps on its head that looked like little horns, and its eyes were big and red. They said it smelled strongly of ammonia, like really harsh cleaning supplies. Not long after they saw it, the whole town went into a frenzy. People claimed the military was everywhere, blocking off roads and taking objects away in trucks. There's even a story that a police officer touched the creature and died a few days later from a weird infection. The government eventually said the girls just saw a local man who was sick and had some physical disabilities, but the girls have stuck to their story for decades, saying that what they saw was definitely not a person. Flathead Lake in Montana is huge and deep, and for a long time people have been saying there's something living in it. Stories go way back, but one of the first big ones was in 1954. A guy named Harold was out in the water and saw what looked like a giant eel swimming along. He guessed it was at least 20 to 40 feet long. Since then, tons of people have been seeing the same thing. They usually see a dark snake-like shape moving under the water, or sometimes a row of humps. What's interesting is that people have seen these humps moving against the wind and the current, which means it's not just a log or a wave, it's something alive. People have even seen big wakes in the water where there are no boats around. Scientists have gone out with sonar to try and find it, but the lake is so big and deep that it would be easy for something to hide. Even though nobody's caught it on camera perfectly, the people who live around the lake are pretty sure they're not alone out there on the water. The harpy eagle. This is one terrifying bird, especially if you're a monkey living in South America, because these birds eat them as well as sloths and porcupines. Harpy eagles are named after harpies, large winged monsters from Greek mythology, and the name really fits. These eagles are true apex predators, some of the largest eagles in the world, with wingspans of up to 6.5 feet across. They live in rainforests across South America. Female harpy eagles are larger than the males, growing up to 36 to 40 inches and weighing in around 13 to 20 pounds. Harpy eagles' talons 5 inches long, larger than a grizzly's, and they're incredibly powerful, able to crush their prey's bones in an instant. They're very elusive birds. It's really rare to see them in their natural habitat. They're just good at staying hidden, and rather than soaring above the trees like most birds, they fly under the forest canopy, sometimes reaching speeds of up to 50 miles per hour before swooping down to snatch up their prey. The kangaroo, aka vampire fish, native to the Amazon basin. These are a type of small catfish known to swim up inside people's bodies through their sensitive areas. They're small, usually around 6 to 15 centimeters long. They have a slim, elongated body and are kinda translucent, so great, they're even harder to see. They're known to be parasitic and are attracted to the smell of urine and other bodily fluids, hence the swimming up into the body thing, and they get the vampire nickname because they feast on the BLOOD of other fish. They often attach themselves to gill openings of larger fish to feed. They're horrifying. Now, apparently they don't swim up into people intentionally. Most recorded cases involve the fish accidentally entering body orifices, but I mean, how do we really know what these things are thinking? This does not look like a real fish, at least not one that exists today, but it does, unfortunately. This is a Goliath tigerfish. It's a freshwater fish native to Africa. If the razor-sharp monster teeth didn't give it away for you, these are predatory animals. These fish found in the Congo River Basin can get pretty big too, up to 5 feet in length, with the heaviest on record weighing in at 154 pounds. That is too big for something that looks this ferocious. In terms of diet, these things will eat pretty much any fish they can overpower. They've even been known to attack humans. The Goliath tigerfish has very little to worry about. Their only predators are the Nile crocodile. They're often seen as the greatest freshwater game fish in the world. The tarantula hawk. Alright, so based on the name, you're probably thinking we either have a flying tarantula or a hawk with some spider-like abilities. Both of those sound terrifying, but this creature is neither a bird nor a spider. It's actually a wasp, a really big, scary wasp that paralyzes its prey with its stinger before laying an egg inside them, which hatches into a larva that then eats the still living host from the inside. So they're kind of like the real life version of the xenomorph from Alien. If that's not terrifying to you, then you probably just haven't seen Alien. These things are some of the largest wasps in the world, reaching up to 2.5 inches long, and their legs are capped with hooked claws, which they use to grapple their victims, and their sting is said to be one of the most painful in the world. Great news, by the way, you can find them on every continent aside from Europe and Antarctica. I really would prefer it if these things didn't exist. Next up, we have South American monkeys. There are multiple species of monkeys in South America, but there's always been this question as to how they got there. Why is that? Well, because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why they're there. The fact that there are monkeys in South America is something scientists have actually been confused about for a long time. Primates would have traveled to South America on 2 separate occasions. The first wave went extinct, and they have no connection to the monkeys seen in South America today. So as for how they got there, it's always been a bit of a mystery, but it looks like they might have rafted from Africa around 35 to 32 million years ago. There's just no evidence of them traveling all the way from Africa to South America by land. There are no fossil records of monkeys traveling along the long route they would have needed to take. As for what these rafts would have been, they could have been pieces of land masses that broke off from the mainland. They could have also been trapped on pieces of vegetation that floated out to sea during storms. It does seem kind of far-fetched when you hear about it, but we gotta remember the continents of Earth were much closer together than they are in modern times, and water levels were also shallower. So this theory isn't out of the realm of possibility. Alright, the glass frog can be found in the Amazon rainforest. They're incredibly weird. These things are crazy looking. Maybe not at first glance, you might just think they're an adorable little green frog, and they are. But how do you think they get the glass frog name? Well, there are many different species of glass frog, and many of them have translucent underbellies, so you can actually see their heart and their liver and their intestines through their skin. It's icky, really trippy. And it's not always just their bellies that are translucent. Sometimes their entire body has this at least semi-translucency to it. They look a bit like gummy frogs. Really fascinating animals. Now the reason for this translucency is that it helps with camouflage. The outline of their bodies becomes softer and less visible, and birds tend to attack translucent frogs less often than non-transparent ones. Another super fascinating thing about these frogs, you can actually conceal the red blood cells in their livers. They do this when prey is near because it makes them appear even more transparent. Somehow they're actually able to control the location, the density, and packing of their red cells without negative consequences like it clotting up. It's pretty wild.
First up at number 10, the Sasquatch. You know I had to add this one in there. It's tall, it's hairy, and nearly everyone and their neighbor claims to have witnessed the creature walking through the woods of North America. Dating back further than recorded history, this man-like ape, also commonly known as Bigfoot, is a household legend with nearly 10,000 recorded sightings throughout the United States. I mean, just a quick search and you'll literally find hundreds of photos and articles aiming to prove Bigfoot's existence. Arguably, the most famous evidence we have is Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin's 1967 film where the alleged creature is seen walking along the side of a creek in plain day. And though we still don't know if the authenticity of the photo stacks up, we've also never been truly able to debunk it entirely. Throughout the many stories of alleged sightings, including some saying they were captured and held captive by the creature, and others claiming to have spotted the Sasquatch roaming around the woods, many scientists still attribute the sightings to either hoaxes or misidentification of known animals, usually black bears. But what do you think? Are you a believer in Bigfoot, or do you think it's all just one big lie?
In our number 9 spot today, we have Takolshi. This creature originated in South Africa and it appears in Zulu mythology. It is said that this creature is quite short, but very frightening. What it lacks in height, it makes up for in a vertical better than Michael Jordan in his prime. Legend has it that this creature likes to jump on people's chests at night while they are sleeping so that it can steal their breath away. Aside from the whole jumping thing, it is said that this creature is also quite fast, and one random fact is that it apparently loves curdled milk, which is disgusting. So while he's stealing your breath, I guess you just have to sit there smelling his hot milk breath. 0 out of 10 trade-off. There is a way to protect yourself against him, and that is by putting your bed on high bricks. This is because if the bed is raised too high, then this malevolent being won't be able to jump up on your chest to complete its breath-stealing work.
Coming in at number 8, we have the Canadian folklore monster, the Ogopogo. If you grew up in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, I'm sure you heard a story or two about this mythological sea creature. But could it be that there's more to the Ogopogo than we thought? The myth dates back thousands of years, with Salish indigenous people having passed along the stories about a spirit in the lake, which turned into what we now call the Ogopogo once the white settlers landed and began altering the stories. Described as a serpentine creature with smooth-like skin and a length of up to 50 feet, it's said to move at incredible speeds, using its powerful tail as a propeller to speed through the lake. The first alleged sighting dates back to 1872 by a woman named Susan Allison, who was the first white settler to live in the region, but she's not been the only one to come forward with the so-called evidence. In the 1980s, a tourist agency offered a cash reward for anyone with proof of the beast, and many flocked with pictures and videos trying to claim the reward. Then later in 2008, a photographer by the name of Sean Valoria captured several photos of something peculiar he saw in the water, which he described as having humps and measuring 18 to 20 feet long. After inspection by many local experts, they did confirm that it didn't look anything like a known animal in the lake, which definitely raised a few eyebrows. Although there wasn't enough evidence to confirm the existence of the Ogopogos, from Sean's photo, the fact that there have been hundreds of people over the years coming forward with evidence to prove the legend speaks for itself. I mean, is it really out there? Well, no one's been able to provide enough hard proof. That doesn't mean the BC locals will stop trying anytime soon.
In our number 7 spot today, we have the Banshee. The Banshee is Ireland's most well-known dark spirit that roams around the countryside wailing when death is near. The good news about this one is that she does not cause death, but rather her presence is said to foreshadow the arrival of death. She often appears as a woman with long flowing hair, wearing a green dress with a grey cloak over top, and with eyes that are red for her continuous weeping. There are some, however, who have said she appears as an old woman with dirty, rotting teeth and long fingernails. There is not just one Banshee, however, so it makes sense that there are different appearances. Not all Banshees are evil or hate-filled. There are some who just have strong ties to their family and a desire to continue looking over them. The evil ones, however, are wailing as a form of celebration that the death is about to come. It is said that the wailing of a Banshee may only be able to be heard by the person for whom it is intended. So if you hear this call, I truly hope that you have one of the good ones.
Next up at our number 6 spot is the Bunyip, with origins from indigenous Australian folklore dating back to 1812. This monster is said to lurk in the swamps and lagoons while waiting for its human prey to pass so it can pounce. The name Bunyip roughly translates to the devil or evil spirit, and was certainly viewed as such by locals of the time. These terrifying monsters are most often described as being seal-like and measuring 4 to 6 feet long, with a shaggy dark coat and possessing a loud roar that's heard before their vicious attack. In the early 1800s, an English convict, William Buckley, escaped a penal colony and found himself living with the local indigenous people, for which he later wrote a biography detailing his life. In 1852, Buckley wrote that he saw the bunyip while living among the Aboriginal people, and according to his account, the bunyip was an extraordinary amphibious animal with gray feathers covering its back and devoured a woman from his community. As legend states, they apparently preferred women for their prey. Throughout the 1800s, many discovered unusual bones and fossils at the site of swamps and lagoons, only piquing curiosity of this tale further. Then in 1846, one particular obscure skull was put on display at the Australian Museum for 2 days, at which time hundreds of alleged bunyip sightings came out of the woodworks, including a group of men who claimed to have seen a stranger disappear while they were on a boat only a yard away from them. So what do you say? Are you feeling brave enough to test out the swamps of Australia to find out for yourself?
What would you do if you were driving down a desolate road late at night and came across this? I'm guessing we'd all do the same thing the driver did, throw the car in reverse and cancel whatever plans you had down that road. This video was posted to X a few weeks ago by God Knows DGJ1. It was captured somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, regardless of what's actually going on here, this is a pretty unsettling sight. What makes it especially creepy to me is the stillness. The buffalo almost completely still, and the kid's just sitting there staring. The only thing moving are his hands, doing this weird thing. It's very robotic. Now, the reason why this is on a list of cryptids, though, is because some wonder if this is actually footage of something called a tokoloshe, a mischievous evil spirit from southern African folklore. People usually describe it as a small, almost dwarf-like creature. It's often said to be sent by someone with bad intentions to cause trouble. That trouble can range from frightening children to causing illness, and in some stories, even death. Some legends describe how a tokoloshe is created with a jealous person going to a witch doctor who performs a ritual, sometimes involving a dead body, to shrink it and then send it after the target. Back in 2022, this security camera in Mexico captured something genuinely strange. The footage captures this strange floating shape drifting over some bushes before settling in someone's yard. Slowly, it drifts up a hill and onto the road, twisting and morphing as it moves, even taking on a form that almost looks human. You might think it's just a trick of the camera or a cheap edit, but the dogs in the yard, they saw it too, and they totally lose it, barking like crazy and then just standing there completely baffled. The clip went viral on Twitter, and no one's been able to figure out exactly what it is. Whatever it was, those dogs were definitely freaked out though. A few years ago, this eerie piece of home security camera footage made its way onto Reddit. A woman steps out of her house to grab something, but keep your eyes on the garbage bins. A ghostly shape moves past them and right into the back door. Take a look. I know that home security cams can be iffy at times, but this doesn't look like a camera issue to me. It also doesn't look like cigarette smoke drifting through the yard or anything like that. Whatever this shape is, it moves with purpose. Now, at first it appears as this vague floating form, but as it gets closer to the door, you can almost make out a human shape before it moves off camera, right into the home. What exactly is it? Something mundane, like a light reflection or a glitch, or was something paranormal caught on camera that night? This video got quite a bit of traction online when it was first posted. There were articles about it and everything. On a small island in Brazil called Ilha do Mel, these figures were spotted on a hilltop. Headlines described them as being 10-foot tall aliens. Eyewitness Sarah Delate says she was hiking with her family when they suddenly spotted them up on the hill. She explained that it wasn't possible to reach the hilltop where they stood. Now, according to Sarah, the figures moved incredibly fast and looked around 10 feet tall, definitely not your average hikers. A spokesperson of Parana State joked, "Our summer is from another world. Even strange beings come here to enjoy our coastline." Some commenters think it's probably just a couple people who did manage to climb up there, but others think the figures look especially tall and lanky, slightly inhuman. What do you think of this video though? Share your thoughts down below. Two hikers got more than they bargained for while exploring Long's Peak, one of Colorado's tallest mountains in the Rocky Mountain National Park. Jesse Clausen, 29, and Camille Avarella, 28, were descending the steep trail on August 24th when they unknowingly captured something strange in the background of a photo as a lanky gray figure clinging to the side of the rock face. Clausen described the moment they first noticed it weeks later. "I was shocked to the bone when we were looking at the picture. We didn't see anything. We didn't take the picture because we saw that thing, we just took it because the mountain range was pretty," she said. They'd set off at 2 a.m. determined to reach the 14,000-foot peak by dusk. Clausen said they were in full adrenaline mode and weren't really paying attention. It wasn't until they were at home sharing the photos on a big TV screen that they saw the odd figure. Camille's dad said, "What the hell? That thing is at least 20 foot or so." And Camille was like, "Should we call the Rangers?" We were all like, "What the hell is that?" Avarella added, "It could be a rock, but it has all the features of something that is human. The anatomy is so human-like, it's freaky as hell." What you're looking at here are pretty infamous photos in cryptid/alien sighting circles. And yeah, they kind of look like a dude wrapped in tinfoil, but it's the story attached to the images that makes them more interesting. So on October 17, 1973, in Falkville, Alabama, a report came in about a possible spaceship landing in a field. Police Chief Jeff Greenaw went out to check things out. He wasn't really one for UFOs, didn't expect to find much. At most, he was gonna find a prankster, but things didn't go the way he thought they would. He insisted that he ran into something way stranger. What he described wasn't a craft, it was a humanoid figure covered in something that looked like thick aluminum foil, smooth and reflective, almost glowing under the light. The body looked wrong too. There was no clear neck. The head seemed fused to the torso, and there was even what looked like an antenna sticking out. And the way it moved made it even worse. Greenaw said it didn't walk normally. It had these jerky, almost mechanical movements, like something trying to imitate a human but not quite getting it right. And then it suddenly took off, and this was the strangest part. It moved faster than anything he'd ever seen, covering huge distances in seconds. He tried to follow it in his truck, but even at 35 miles per hour, he couldn't keep up. Before it disappeared, he managed to snap the now infamous Polaroid photos. Now, the photos didn't do a lot to convince the skeptics. In fact, they probably made things even worse. Greenaw was laughed off, and within months, he lost his job, his marriage fell apart, and his house burned down. So if he hoaxed this whole thing, it was a bad idea. He did not come out of it any better than he was before. Apparently this footage comes from 2009. It's pretty compelling stuff. It looks like a large wolf walking on its hind legs, and the hind legs look like they belong to a horse. I mean, what the hell? The creature is being referred to as the Black Walker of Smuggler's Notch. Smuggler's Notch being a narrow mountain pass in Vermont, squeezed between Mount Mansfield and Spruce Park. It has an interesting history. It got its name back in the 1800s when smugglers used it to sneak goods between Canada and the US. Nowadays, it's mostly known for hiking and skiing, but there have been stories online about this dogman type creature lurking in the area. Next up is this video captured in Buenos Aires last year. The clip is short and blurry, showing what looks like a street or a garden. You see this weird dark figure crawling on all fours toward the camera, while a few dogs wander around in the background. Its limbs look unusually long, but it's tough to make out because it's dark and the video quality is admittedly not great. Local news says this happened in the town of Saladillo. Residents are reportedly freaked out by whatever it was. Some witnesses have described it as demonic, claiming it moves within human agility, climbing walls and leaping between trees. And a local firefighter who didn't want to be named said, quote, "Something was going on." Another witness added, "It's something big. He doesn't walk on all fours, he walks backwards. He's disjointed, he comes apart, his head is upside down while his body moves in an impossible way." And say what you want about this last video, but we get more than a vague blur in the distance. What do you think? Genuine Bigfoot or a costume? I mean, we almost never get Bigfoot footage this clear and close. Most of the time, these clips are shot from way too far away, and the creature is barely recognizable. I know I say that a lot whenever I show a Bigfoot video. I mean, this is part 4. I've already covered Bigfoot in 3, 2, and 1. I think I've done a good job of finding ones that, are better than just some blurry shape obscured by some trees. But as for this one, is it real? It's hard to say for sure, but I don't know. I like it. There's more going on here than a Party City monkey suit, I'll say that. The figure looks solid. It's got some bulk, and the fur isn't just one flat color.
Next we have the sea serpent, not something you really want to see on a day out in the water, or maybe you do, as mythologically speaking, serpents were said to be representative of creative life force as well as fertility. Along with that, the fabled shedding of the oceanic reptile skin has been said to represent transformation, rebirth, and immortality. So how does all this talk of omens and myths translate to reality? The titanoboa, a 47-foot-long aquatic snake estimated to have lived 58 to 60 million years ago, discovered, fossilized of course, in the early 2000s by the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute in a coal mine deep within the rainforests of Colombia. Now, because the titanoboa is now extinct, I'll give you a 2 for 1. Today, scientists believe that the creature many sailors mistakenly mistook for a sea serpent is none other than the oarfish. As I mentioned in my previous video, that thing can grow up to be 36 feet long, making it the largest bony fish alive today. No 47-foot-long prehistoric sea snake, but it is pretty close. This next one is for all of my Game of Thrones fans out there who I'm pretty sure, like me, will be very happy to learn that no, not dragons, guys, I'm a researcher, not a miracle worker, but like I said, dire wolves actually do exist. Well, did exist. Like I said, I'm no miracle worker. Epicyon haydeni, as they are scientifically referred to, went extinct around 5 million years ago, so we just missed them. But our human ancestors might have lived amongst them, as our earliest record of human life does date back to sometime between 5 and 7 million years ago. The massive canid would have stood 35 inches, about 3 feet tall at the shoulder, and had a length of just 1.2 inches shy of 8 feet long. The largest canine alive today, and therefore the closest depiction we have to the dire wolf, is the gray wolf, which comes in at an honestly just slightly less impressive shoulder height of 30 inches and body length of 6 feet. Next up is the kraken. Like mermaids, I guarantee you've heard of this one before, but if not, here it goes. A gigantic, legendary sea monster and another yet major enemy of our seafaring sailor friends, the kraken has been known to sink ships in minutes with its gigantic squid-like tentacles and beak. Well, not so much squid-like as squid exactly. Thought to be nothing more than a myth up until 1856, when the discovery of the giant squid took place in 1856, when a Danish zoologist uncovered records of Danish men having caught the creature all the way back in 1550. The largest giant squid, also known as the chief squid, discovered to date is an insane 13 meters long, that's almost 43 feet, and weighs 495 kilograms, which is 1,091 pounds. So while the animal probably wouldn't have been able to sink gigantic fleets of Voyager ships as the legends tell, I'm guessing it wouldn't have much trouble taking down a rowboat or two. Guys, I hate to do this to you because I so wanted it to be true that an inconceivably large shark species was roaming around the deep to one day be discovered by marine scientists and research experts, but the thing is, the megalodon just isn't that big. I mean, it's huge, but also some reports have suggested that it's literally the same size as a whale shark, and actually a bit smaller, as the largest whale shark apparently measured up to 18.5 meters, 60 feet, whereas the megalodon was said to have measured in at just 18 meters, 59 feet. But I get it, you're looking for a giant carnivorous shark, so let me give you this. An even bigger shark, I'm talking about a mega-sized megalodon, possibly measuring in at more than 30 meters or 100 feet, might have existed at some point. You see, before humans began spreading out across the globe, there was something called megafauna, which basically just refers to really large animals, some examples being the dire wolf, mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and woolly rhinoceroses. When humans began to encroach on the lands of these animals, it is predicted that there was not enough resources to support both them and our Homo sapien ancestors. And because they were much larger than us, and therefore most likely had longer gestation periods and required more food and land, as we said hello to the agricultural revolution, we unfortunately waved goodbye to the majority of the world's megafauna on land. And when the fishing industry began to pick up, aquatic megafauna began to die off as well, most likely including the megalodon. but who knows? Again, only 5% of the ocean has been explored to date. Alright guys, before we get into the last one, please let me know the weirdest creature that you've ever seen down below in the comments. Lastly, we have the chimera, a creature often referred to in Greek mythology as an amalgamation of many different animals fused together. And this thing is so cool to look at. The creature was discovered in the 1980s in the Karoo region of South Africa, and it's still around today, but the earliest fossil found so far dates all the way back to around 280 million years ago. But it is said that the species first came to be after diverging from their shark relatives almost 400 million years ago. Due to their ghostly appearance and their close relation to sharks via their prehistoric shark ancestors, this species has been appropriately nicknamed the ghost shark. Straightforward. I like it. The ghost shark can be found in pretty much all oceans except for the Arctic at a depth of about 2,600 to 8,500 feet. They weigh generally between 5.5 to 8.8 pounds and are a cartilage-based animal. They have one gill on either side of their bodies and have an upper jaw fused to their skull. Think about taking a swim with one of these as you fall asleep tonight.
In our number 5 spot today, we have La Llorona. The weeping woman is actually named Maria, and she is from Mexico. She has long black hair and is known for her greedy heart. When she was alive, the man she loved would not love her back, and the legend says that because of this, she did some very horrible things. Realizing the terrible things she did in her fit of rage, she ended up throwing herself into the ocean. After her passing, because of her sins, heaven would not allow her in, and instead she was condemned to wander the world in eternal grief. When people see her, she is usually walking, wearing all white and soaking wet. Legend says that sometimes she snatches people up as she mistakes them for her own children. It is said that she can be summoned by going into the bathroom, turning all of the lights out, and splashing water on the mirror before you say her name 3 times. Try it if you dare.
Coming in at number 4, the Kraken. The subject of many a superstitious sailor, this creature originated from Scandinavian folklore and is depicted as an aggressive, cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying entire ships and dragging sailors to their doom. Legends say the creature could devour a whole ship and its crew in its entirety, and if that didn't work, it would swim round the ship in circles to create a whirlpool, sucking the ship down into the deep, dark depths of the sea. Though it seems like a death sentence, many sailors would take the risk and approach the beast, as it said huge schools of fish would surround the creature, and I guess they wanted to take their chances. In 18th century, scientists linked this myth to reality by including the Kraken among the cephalopod mollusks in the first edition of Systema Naturae, and it would only be further linked to reality when in 1853 a giant cephalopod was found stranded on a Norwegian beach. After 150 years of research into giant squids and octopi, it's still unclear whether the legend of the Kraken, as is told, was entirely true, but we know for certain that giant squids swim among us every day. And I mean, what do we really know about what lies deep, deep down in the depths of the ocean?
In our number 3 spot today, we have the Papabawa. This evil creature is found stalking the Tanzanian island of Pemba and is one of those creepy beings that has the ability to shapeshift. Sometimes seen as a bat and sometimes seen in human form, the creature prefers to come out at night, and anyone is a target, although it definitely prefers men. The legend of the Papabawa has had people on the island scared since the origins of the story, especially a few years ago when there was actually a real-life string of attacks on men in the area, which were being tied to this demon. The important part of this one is that those who encounter the evil creature must tell others and spread the word. If they fail to do this, the Papabawa will continue to attack, and we all know that that is just not good. During times when people are worried about being attacked by this creature, many people can be seen sitting outside of their homes at night, often huddled around an open fire with their friends and family, as when people are in their homes sleeping is when the creature most likes to attack.
In the number 2 spot, we have the truly terrifying chupacabra. Derived mainly from Puerto Rico and Mexico, the chupacabra literally translates to goat sucker. This mythical legend is reported to attack and drink the blood of livestock. Oddly, it seems like no one can land on a unifying description, with many in Puerto Rico saying it resembles a more reptilian-like creature the size of a small bear with prominent spines from head to tail. Others alleged sightings from the southwest United States have depicted it as more dog-like. The legend began back in 1975 when a small Puerto Rican town by the name of Mocha experienced a devastating loss of their town town livestock, finding them drained of their blood by several small circular incisions. Originally, the town suspected the horrors to be linked to a satanic cult, but a few years later in 1995, another 8 sheep were found to have the same fate. To make matters worse, a few months later, a woman named Madeline Tolentino claims to have witnessed the creature, where it would later be found that another 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed, with these animals dropping left, right, and center. It's no wonder locals started suspecting the culprit to be the legendary Chupacabra. But what say you? A satanic cult or the work of a blood-sucking creature?
In our number 1 spot today, we have La Ciguapa. The legend of the Ciguapa comes from the Dominican Republic, and it is a group of small feral women who inhabit the mountainous areas. They wait in the shadows, lurking around, waiting to capture lonely men. They have extremely long hair that covers their small, thin bodies, and they also have dark blue skin and backwards feet. They are nocturnal creatures, and because of their feet, it is hard to track exactly which way they are going, if tracking their footprints. Not only do they capture the men in order to take their lives, but it is also said that if you look one in the eye, you'll be bewitched. Legend says that the only way to defeat one of these creatures is to capture them by tracking them at night, during a full moon, and with a black and white dog with an extra toe. That is definitely one of the most specific things I've ever heard, but that is what the legend says, and I'm not trying to take any kind of chances here.
At number 4 is Release the Kraken! And frankly, that would have been the biggest missed opportunity if I didn't start with that, so I don't even care. And to be fully honest with you guys, I had never heard of a Kraken until I saw Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, and Davy Jones just brought out the Kraken. A Kraken is a gigantic cephalopod sea monster, which in essence just translates to a giant squid. People have been insisting the Kraken is real for centuries. In the 18th century, a Norwegian bishop by the name of Erik Pontoppidan said it was not a myth from any angle, since Norwegian fishermen had seen it with their own eyes. Apparently, when they row out miles into open water, the Kraken was usually at the bottom of the sea. There would be a bubbling in the water, then all the nearby fish would make a swim for it in panic, and then it would rise from the depths surrounded with seaweed. It was the scariest creature in the ocean, and it was as big as 10 warships. And honestly, the fishermen who saw these things may not have been fully wrong. In real life, there is actually no animal as big as a Kraken, but giant squids are 100% a thing. Those things can grow up to 600 pounds and be anywhere from 43 to 46 meters long. So we may not be dealing with a Kraken, but we are dealing with Squidward's mother. Filling our number 3 slot is King Kong. Now, the origin story of King Kong is the biggest plot twist ever. Like, I had no idea. Now, before there was King Kong, there was the Komodo dragon. Rumors of an enormous prehistoric lizard roaming the islands of Indonesia were rife in the 20th century, and you'd think people would have noticed an 8-foot long 100-pound reptile quite easily, but you'd be wrong. It took until 1910 when Dutch Lieutenant Stein van Hensbroek said enough was enough and went on an expedition to Komodo Island himself. There he caught and killed a 6-foot specimen and brought it back to Java. But that wasn't good enough for American explorer W. Douglas Burden, who went back there 15 years later because he wanted to bring 2 specimens back to America alive. That was a shit show in and of itself, and he ended up killing a bunch of them, but he did manage to bring back 2 alive. When he got back though, he told the whole story to Marion C. Cooper, who also happened to be a film producer. Substitute an ape for the Komodo dragon and voila, you get the movie King Kong. So I mean, really, King Kong was based off a completely real creature, it just wasn't an ape, it was a Komodo dragon. Now at number 2 are unicorns. These are real, you guys, they are. I don't care what you say. They're described as a majestic beast with a single spiraling horn coming out of its forehead. The people in the Indus Valley civilization mentioned it, the ancient Greeks mentioned it during accounts of natural history, it's present in European folklore in the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, heck the Bible even mentions an animal called the reem, which some versions translate it to unicorn. Now imagine living in whatever year BC without internet or anything and having to explain what a rhinoceros is to someone on the other side of the world that doesn't speak the same language as you. During the 5th century BC, a Greek physician called Theseus went to the royal court of Persia, whose location brought together both sides of Eurasia, meaning everyone was just sharing information. He wrote about the Indian a 4-legged beast with a single horn that came with its own healing properties, and that Indian ass he was describing was a rhinoceros, but it translated to a unicorn. And I mean, really, rhinos are just really the thicker versions of unicorns anyway, thick with 2 C's. maybe even 3. And finally, at number 1 are mummies, and they're probably the realest thing on this list, and I mean by definition, it literally means a dead animal or human whose organs and skin have been preserved. In a lot of Western fiction, they've always been depicted as dead people who reanimate as mummies. The whole curse of the mummy myth actually originated from 19th century European archaeologists, not the ancient Egyptians. We've excavated enough tombs over the years to confirm that mummies are real, and I mean there have been curses associated with some of these tombs. The biggest and deadliest one being that was unleashed after we excavated King Tutankhamun. He took down so many people while dead, so I mean this myth checks out in every aspect other than the reanimation part, so I give it a thumbs up.
This next clip is one of those what the hell am I looking at moments. It was filmed in Santa Fe, New Mexico sometime last summer, but that's about all we know. I really don't know how to explain what this thing is. Doesn't appear to be fully human, but I mean, maybe it is, I don't know. Now, New Mexico is no stranger to strange sightings. It's got a long history of chupacabra reports, the goat-sucking cryptid that's said to drain livestock. Sightings of these creatures pop up all across the Southwest, into Mexico, and even parts of South America. So naturally, people are wondering if this thing caught on camera could be a chupacabra. Others think it looks like a skinwalker caught mid-transformation. Whatever it is though, I can say for sure that I don't like it, and if I were living out there in Santa Fe and saw something like this slinking around, I'd be rethinking my zip code real fast. But what do you think? Real cryptid, elaborate hoax? Let us know down below. This next clip comes from deep in the Amazon rainforest, and if you're one of those people who roll their eyes at the idea of 50-foot snakes, this might give you second thoughts. Now at first it looks like just another shot of something slithering through murky water, nothing too out of the ordinary, probably a big anaconda, right? But then the camera zooms out and you start to realize just how massive this thing really is. Some people say it could be a modern-day Titanoboa, a prehistoric snake that was said to grow over 40 feet long. Supposedly extinct for millions of years, but who really knows with a place like the Amazon? It's one of the most unexplored regions on Earth. If a monster-sized snake was going to survive anywhere without being found, this is definitely the place. Now sure, this could be a trick of the camera, maybe the angle makes the snake look bigger than it is, but when you see something that looks like it came straight out of the Jurassic period, moving that smoothly through a real jungle river, it's hard not to wonder what else might be out there. Sometimes it feels like we've just barely scratched the surface. How would you like to see this thing creeping through your backyard? In this video shared by TikTok user CryptTalker, a weird pale creature is caught crawling through someone's backyard in the middle of the night. It's moving on all fours and it looks way too thin to be a normal person. Its limbs are long and kind of jerky, and there's something really off about how it moves. A lot of people instantly compared it to the Rake, the creepy internet legend that's been floating around since the early 2000s, and this thing definitely has a similar vibe. The creature in the video doesn't really do much, just crawling along, but man, does it give me the creeps. Looks like it shouldn't exist. Too thin and lanky to be a person, but unlike any animal I've ever seen. Back in 2012, a trail cam on Whiteman Hill in Wetzel County, West Virginia picked up something very strange. A woman named Kelly Morgan submitted photos from her brother's deer camera that seemed to show a pale ghost-like figure wandering through the woods at night. According to Morgan, there's an old local legend about a young bride who was killed on her wedding day and that her spirit is said to roam the woods. She said her aunt told her the story, but it's mostly passed around as hearsay. Still, digging into the area's ghost tales, Morgan found a disturbing version of the story. Around 1882, 3 men allegedly took a young girl to a remote spot near Whiteman Hill, and after tormenting her, they hanged her. There is a small cemetery nearby that some think might be connected as well. The idea of a ghost bride fits into a much bigger pattern in folklore. Susan Dahl, co-author of Haunted Tales from the Holler, hadn't heard this exact story, but she did note how common ghost bride tales are, saying they are so common you could call them a bona fide subcategory. This has become a pretty famous image, right up there with the infamous Nessie photograph. This is supposedly photographic evidence of a creature called Champ that lives in Lake Champlain. There have been over 300 reported sightings of the creature, over the years, but in 1977, amateur photographer Sandra Manzi spotted something sticking its head out of the water and snapped the now famous photo. Some describe Champ or Champy as a snake-like creature, others say it's like an aquatic dinosaur, something like a plesiosaur. Champ has become a full-on local celebrity though. In Port Henry, New York, they built a giant statue of it. There's even a Champ Day festival every year. Businesses in the area, car washes, diners, gift shops, slap Champ on their logos, and Vermont's minor league baseball team is literally called the Lake Monsters, with Champ as the mascot. It's a modern day mythical creature and people keep watching the lake, hoping to be the next to spot it.
The green-clawed beast claws its way in at number 8. Well, judging by the name, this is a creature that I definitely don't want to run into. The green-clawed beast. What a beast of a name. He is known to haunt the areas of the Ohio River, and trust me, nothing about this creature will make you feel comfortable. He uses his hairy arms and giant clawed hands to grab innocent women. In 1955, a claw-like hand grabbed a woman and pulled her under the water. She was gasping for air and screaming for help. When her friend swam over to help her, the attack suddenly stopped. Afterwards, the woman was visited by a man who claimed to be from the Air Force and told her to never speak of the incident ever again. I mean, wow, that sounds super sketchy to me, and I bet this creature is living in Area 51, and we might find it when we storm Area 51. It's fast approaching. September 20th? September 25th, I think. For those of you guys who are storming it, let me know if you see him, and tell him I said, hey, I'm a friendly Canadian. Number 7, we have the Flathead Lake Monster. What is with all these scary creatures coming from the water? I'm gonna develop an irrational fear of water. I mean, already I shower once a month, but now I'm probably not gonna shower again because of this list. I'm probably not gonna want to touch water ever again. But let's go back to the Flathead Lake Monster. Apparently this eel-like creature could be lurking at the bottom of Flathead Lake in Montana. Some say that he is about 20 to 50 feet long, his body is brownish blue, and has grayish black eyes. The first documented sighting of this monster was back in 1989. A passenger on a steamboat spotted a whale-like creature heading straight for the boat. They tried shooting it with a rifle, but he got away. Since then, there have been so many other sightings, and it makes you wonder, does the Flathead Lake Monster actually exist?
Out of the water.
It was like a serpent, didn't see a head, just the body.
What we saw was probably as long as our boat, which was 24 feet. And that's kind of freaky, that you have something out there that might be twice as big as your boat, swimming below you.
Well, I definitely won't be swimming in that lake trying to prove whether or not this thing exists anytime soon. I'm happy staying dry and safe on land, where I belong. The skunk ape brings us to number 6. Hopefully this creature doesn't exist because it's a large hairy ape slash man that gives off a horrendous smell and roams around the state of Florida. Okay, think about the worst thing that you've ever smelt in your life and times that by 100. There have been so many sightings around Florida over the years, and apparently this beast likes to show up in the day or night in different environments. So if you're from Florida, you aren't really safe because this smelly creature likes to go everywhere. There's a website completely devoted to documenting sightings of the skunk ape, and it says it has received several reports of sightings every single week. There are even a ton of pictures of it. They also have hair samples and foot casts of the skunk ape, and to me, that is absolutely terrifying. And now number 5, Kushtaka. This shape-shifting creature is rumored to be lurking in southern Alaska. It's basically a cross between an otter and a man. This is an otter man, and I don't know about you guys, but I find that strangely terrifying. The Kushtaka is rumored to make noises that mimic children and wives, and they do this so they can lure unsuspecting fishermen and so they can kill them. They apparently like to lure you into the river where they'll either kill you or they will tear you to shreds or turn you into another Kushtaka. But don't worry if these creatures actually exist, you can ward them off with copper, urine, or fire. I'm not sure who can pee in a moment of Actually, I can pee easily in a moment of fear. So I guess just make sure if you're visiting Alaska, you have all 3 of those things with you at all times. Maybe just carry pee in your pocket in a bottle or something, I don't know. Otherwise, you might be another one of their dinners. It is also said that they like to target children because they're easy, they're easier prey. So you might want to keep a close eye on your children.
That has to be the clearest piece of Bigfoot footage that I have ever seen. In May of 2025, a trail camera in Michigan caught something that's becoming one of the most talked about Bigfoot videos in years. The clip lasts just 10 seconds, but what it shows is unmistakable. This massive hairy creature standing in the middle of a dense forest, staring almost directly at the lens. And then, without any panic or sudden movement, it just slowly steps away. The camera belonged to someone who owned a remote property in rural Michigan. They'd been checking the cameras regularly, expecting deer, bears, the occasional coyote. Instead, they found this. The creature was enormous, covered in dark, shaggy fur with a muscular build. Its face is almost human-like, kind of looks like a creepier version of the Sasquatch from Harry and the Hendersons, which I believe is named Harry in that movie. Anyway, the property owner posted the video to Reddit, and the post went viral almost immediately. Thousands of people watched, commented, and debated. Was it a really convincing costume? A genuine Sasquatch? The story got stranger when the post disappeared. The Reddit account was deleted, along with all the comments and discussions. I mean, say what you want about the video, but the footage is stunningly clear. It's not like any Sasquatch footage that I've ever seen before. This short video and some images comes from a ski resort in northeast Spain, where a group of skiers saw something strange near the tree line. They got it on video. A tall, white-furred figure walking upright through the snow. One of the skiers posted it online, asking what the hell it could be. The clip spread fast on social media and cryptid forums, and people started talking about it immediately. Some said it looks like genuine footage of a Yeti-type creature. Others say it's just a costume. If that's the case, though, it's a pretty good one. The figure has some serious bulk to it. The resort staff said they checked the area after the footage came out and didn't find anything unusual. No animals or wildlife that fit the description, but one of the skiers insisted he had no idea what the thing was. It wasn't a hoax. What do you all think? Is this one a total fake, or was an unknown ape-like creature actually captured on camera that day? What in the name of all that is holy is this thing? This video was recorded in Vermont, just north of Green Mountain National Forest. Supposedly in the days before the footage was captured, farmers were reporting dead livestock, and several people had reported their pets missing. Coincidence? Maybe, but this also does look like the type of monstrosity that'd snatch up a puppy and eat it. I'm sorry for conjuring that image in your head. The video was shot by two teenagers heading home from a party one night. When they started hearing strange noises from the trees, they decided to start filming. Creeping out of the shadows was this gangly, long-limbed, bulbous-headed freak show. Some say it reminds them of a rake-like creature or skinwalker. Others say it looks more like an alien. Looks to me like it needs to be doused in gasoline and set on fire. What exactly is this fish species? A guy named Rain McKinney was walking across the Pawleys Island Bridge in South Carolina when he noticed something strange in the water. So he grabbed his phone and started recording. A creature. It was swimming in a way that didn't look like any normal fish. It had a weird shape, almost like fins or wings, maybe even something resembling a beak on it. He sent the clip to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, but even they didn't have a clear answer. One spokesperson admitted, "The people in my office are mostly stumped." The video eventually made its way to marine researchers in Charleston, and even then, nobody could identify it for sure. Some guesses were squid, others guessed maybe a sea slug or sea hare. The problem is those species don't usually show up that far north. They're typically found further south in warmer waters, so for now, this one remains a mystery.
Starting us off at number 10 is the Cyclops polyphemus. Now hear me out, people, just hear me out. This is real. It is real. Now in Greek mythology, Polyphemus was a Cyclops son of Poseidon and Teucer, and he's also in Homer's Odyssey. In the ancient Greek times, fossils were abundant, but the people also didn't have the knowledge or know how to actually understand what they were looking at. They told stories to each other of savage giants because they found huge bones in the ground, but really those bones weren't from giants. Sicily was a hotbed for finding fossilized remains of giant prehistoric elephants and mammoths, but since the people didn't know what they were, they attributed them to giant humans and, well, cyclopses. Cyclops? Cyclopsi? I don't know what the plural is. The skeleton or even the skulls of any mammoth or mastodon do have all the characteristics of a mythical cyclops. Now their navel cavities were often damaged, and so they looked like a massive centralized hole in the skull, which the Greeks easily mistook for a cyclops, because I mean, what else would be in the hole other than an eyeball? So for many ancient Greeks, the fictional fear of meeting a cyclops became very real when they discovered these fossils and realized, wait, they actually are real and they do walk among us. When really really, false alarm, they're just mammoths, you guys. Don't you worry. Just woolly mammoths. We all love a bit of woolly mammoths. I started really liking mammoths after watching Ice Age. Come on, everyone loves Ice Age. Coming in at number 9 is the African unicorn, aka the okapi. Now, every time I look at this animal, I legit think it's just a case of Photoshop. Like, I always fail to believe this is a natural animal. Looks-wise, the okapi is a mix of a zebra, a deer, a donkey, and an antelope, but genetically it's closest to a giraffe, which is already like 6 animals in one. Now, their legs and neck are striped like a zebra, their ears and face resemble a deer, but their body shape looks donkey-ish. Now, they are extremely rare and can only be found in the Ituri forest in Central Africa. Now, if we go back in time, the indigenous people of that area were aware of the okapi's existence, but that was through indirect means like hoof prints and poop, not by actually seeing one. When Europeans came to Africa, they all believed the okapi was a myth told by the indigenous people. They even called it the African unicorn because they just failed to believe it, and because the okapi just hid from them so damn easily. It retained its mythical status to the Europeans until 1901, when Sir Harry Johnston, a zoologist, actually got his hands on an okapi skeleton and its skin and sent it back to Britain, and he was like, take a look at that, people. At number 8 we have the basilisk. Yes, that was me speaking parcel tongue just now, and you don't have to worry about what I said. You know, some things are just private, just between me and it. You know how it is. Throughout history, there's never been a shortage of stories or sightings of the infamous basilisk. Warsaw, 1587, a 5-year-old girl vanished, and her mum and maid turned the town upside down looking for her. They ended up finding her stiff and still in the underground cellar of a house that had been abandoned for 30-odd years. The maid made her way down the stairs, but before she could reach the bottom one, she froze petrified. Years and years later, the story was told that the girl and maid never moved again because they stared into the eyes of the basilisk, the one beast on earth that could kill with just one look. Now, even before the Europeans, the Romans believed in them too. They thought basilisks lived abundantly in Cyrene, which is present-day Libya. Pliny the Elder wrote that no man on earth could ever kill the beast since it left a trail of poison wherever it went, and if someone even tried stabbing it, the poison would drip onto his own weapon and end his life. And to be honest, the basilisk was a real animal, or most likely the exaggerated version of one. Now, Libya does have a lot of cobras that spit out poison, so it's quite likely that stories of their poisonous spit were just exaggerated and in a Chinese whisper sort of fashion just turn into these snakes that could kill just by looking at you. There's always an element of truth in rumor, you guys. That's what I believe. Otherwise, there wouldn't be rumors. Filling at number 7 slot are mermaids. Now, we all know what mermaids are. They're half female, half fish creatures that are present in pretty much every country's folklore. People all over the world reported sightings of these creatures coming out of the sea. Even Christopher Columbus in 1493 wrote that he saw 3 mermaids which rose well out of the sea, but they are not so beautiful as they are said to be, for their faces had some masculine traits. First of all, rude. Secondly, I love how people back then believed more in magic and folklore and legend than people do now. Like, we've just declined as a species for sure. People thought they were real, and I mean, they are. But it was never mermaids people were seeing, they were manatees. So I'm pretty sure Columbus needed glasses, or Jesus, because masculine traits? They didn't even look human. What is man saying? The sightings he and others saw were most likely manatees performing tail stands, which lets them rise vertically out of the water. Their jointed forelimbs let them actually hold things and bring food to their mouths and swim, so I feel like from very far away it became easy for travelers to mistake that as a human eating or treading water, and thus mermaids were born.
Slenderman takes us to number 2. I think we are way too familiar with Slenderman. He has been at the center of attention for a long time now. But for those of you guys who don't know, Slenderman is a paranormal creature who lurks in forests and absorbs or kills his victims. He likes to target young children, and he looks like an extremely tall, thin man dressed in a black suit, but he doesn't have a face. Is this real life right now? He has a bunch of terrifying powers, such as invisibility. He can change his height and shape. I wish I can change my height. I would want to be like few inches taller. Also, his arms can turn into tentacles. I think that'd be cool if I could do that as well. And he has the ability to sprout tentacles from his back and shoulders, so we can use them as additional arms and legs, because why not? 2 and 2 are it's just not enough. I really hope Slenderman doesn't exist, because the world would be way too terrifying to live in it. And finally, in at number 1, we have the Wendigo. This is probably one of the oldest stories about a legendary monster. Native Americans used to believe that this creature actually existed, so they actually tried to hunt them down. The Wendigo is a 15-foot shape-shifting monster who roams in northern Minnesota. Apparently anyone who resorts to cannibalism and tastes human flesh will become one. So like I said before, the Wendigo has a craving for human meat, but the scariest part is that the Wendigo is never satisfied. They can eat, and eat. I have the opposite problem of this. I can't seem to eat at all. I have I have an appetite, I just don't like food. Am I the only one here? Getting back to this one, don't think for a minute that the Wendigo is just located in one area. Apparently it could be found all over the United States, so I would watch your back if I were you. And it's a good reason why I live up here in Canada, because I don't want to come across the Wendigo. But what if the Wendigo crosses the border? What if he gets a passport?
On October 15th, 2022, Dale Hancher, his wife Colleen, and their friend Myrna Germaine Brown went sailing on Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, Canada. Colleen's mother had passed away the day before, so the three went out in the water to take their minds off things. According to the couple, they may have been the only boat on the lake that day. And the lake is massive. Its deepest point is 761 feet. In some areas it drops hundreds of feet, just a few feet from shore. While in the middle of the lake, they noticed 2 horns emerging from the water. First they assumed it was log, maybe some seaweed, but as they got closer, it didn't really move much with the waves. It stayed perfectly still. Colleen leaned over the bow to take a photo from about 12 feet away and said she could see what looked like a body or neck beneath the dark water. The horns were several feet apart and stuck out 3 or 4 inches. Colleen believes they were actual horns or ears, and she noted they looked more like skin than wood. It looked like some sort of creature. Some skeptics claimed it was an upside-down duck, which I think is a bit of a stretch. Others said it could have been a dragon sculpture from a boat club nearby, but that club's boats don't have dragon heads like that. Some suggested a hoax, but given the timing with one of the witnesses having just lost her mother, that seems like an odd activity to get up to during the grieving process, but who can say for sure? But then there are those who aren't so skeptical, who believe this could be a genuine photo of Ogopogo, the legendary lake monster people have claimed to see for centuries, with stories going all the way back to First Nations folklore. This is some of the most infamous cryptid footage ever released. First appeared on an episode of Paranormal Borderland hosted by the one and only Jonathan Frakes. The story goes that in 1996, a young couple were hiking in the mountains of Nepal and they spotted a figure on a slope in the distance. The first thing they noticed was how large it was. They'd already been documenting their trek, so they pointed their camera at the person to get some footage. It was then that they noticed there's something strange about the mystery hiker, aside from how large they were. The figure didn't look human. It looked like some sort of massive, hairy creature making its way up the slope. And note the length of the arms, especially in this section of the footage. The footage was shown to a team of experts on the show, including a man named Jeff Meldrum, a primate anatomy expert from the University of Idaho, and he was genuinely stumped by the video at the time. This insane clip was posted to the TikTok Scary Videos 786, but it's actually a repost and no one really knows where the original came from. Whatever the case, it's a weird one. So the video starts with 2 guys holding up this big net. At first you're thinking, all right, what are they even trying to catch? And then out of nowhere, something comes up the stairs straight toward them. This hairy werewolf-looking thing that's kind of half man, half animal. Honestly, it's probably not real, but at the same time, you never really know. Strange stuff pops up all the time. If it was real though, I genuinely want to know what their next move was, because it's like, all right, you just caught the thing in a rather flimsy looking net. What's the next step? Well, nothing reigns in the Christmas season like a visit from Sasquatch. Anyway, this video posted to the YouTube channel North by Wild West has racked up over 3 million views. His family in northern Minnesota were celebrating Christmas in 2014. As the uploader was panning across the room, getting footage of the lovely tree and the lights, she suddenly noticed something outside. Something big.
Oh my God. Did you see that?
Something's behind the garage.
So she made her way outside to investigate. After scanning around the yard for a few moments, they noticed it again, off in the distance just beyond the trees. A large, dark figure. They're not too sure what they spotted at this point. It could have just been a big person. When one of the dogs runs out, clearly having spotted the thing too, things get stranger.
Oh.
Oh, there goes
Oh no.
We're real scared of them.
It immediately runs back closer to the house before continuing to bark at whatever is skulking through the trees. Super curious, the camera woman decides to get closer to see if she can spot the thing again as the dog Riff continues yapping at the trees. Eventually, she does spot it again. After that, everyone decided to make their way back inside.
The Goat Man terrorizes us at number 10. Can you guys think of anything scarier, than meeting a creature that had a head and legs of a goat, but had the body of a human? Is this real life right now? Well, what if I told you guys that the Goat Man is also notorious for carrying around a large axe? I mean, seriously? Well, as it turns out, it might be real. According to this legend, the Goat Man was created by a scientist whose experiment went horribly wrong. He transformed into half man, half billy goat. And I guess he didn't like what he saw in the mirror because he took out his rage on people with an axe. This legend took off in 1971, and now people are saying that the Goat Man wanders around in the woods. And he's looking for any living creatures to torment with his sharpened axe. And maybe he just wants dinner. Climbing into our list at number 9, we have the skunk ape. Yeah, I'll be the first one to say it. His name doesn't really sound that appealing at all. It sounds pretty smelly. Well, apparently these monsters are known for having a really bad stench, and they can supposedly be found lurking in Florida. Well, sorry about that, Florida, for you guys watching over there. Well, the skunk ape is said to be about 7 feet tall and looks like a gorilla that smells 100 times worse. Sightings of the skunk ape date back to the 1940s, but in 2000, a sheriff's department received an anonymous letter that had several pictures of the smelly monster wandering around at night. Oh, and there is also this footage. So what do you guys think? Could this be a real life skunk ape? Bigfoot comes stomping on this list at number 8. Yeah, that's right. We have an oldie but a goodie. Honestly, some people are quick to write off Bigfoot as nothing more than an old urban legend, but I bet most of you would be horrified if you actually saw this 15-foot hairy beast coming close to your campsite.
Seriously, look how big it is. I don't think it is a human. I think it's a
There are actually a ton of reports of people seeing a Bigfoot wandering around North America for at least a century. So, I mean, how can this one be made up? Is no one else concerned that there might actually be a giant hairy ape man bulldozing through our forests? There was even a website dedicated to documenting every sighting that happened in each state. Giant apes used to exist in the past, so it could be plausible that maybe they never went extinct. And judging by the unexplainable footprints and other Bigfoot evidence that we've stumbled upon, I'm not ready to rule anything out. Flying into number 7 on our list, we have the Thunderbird. Most people say that the Thunderbird is just a mythological creature from Native American folklore. But then again, how can we be so sure? The Thunderbird is so large and strong, people used to say that it can carry a whale in their talons. And because of its size, lots of people are arguing that the Thunderbird couldn't exist in our time without being seen. Well, I guess it's hard to miss something, that large. But what if the Thunderbird was real and he just went extinct? It's definitely something that I would have to see to believe.
This is an actual bird or a large child in a...
Biting into our number 6 spot, we have the Chupacabra. The legend of this monster first began over in Puerto Rico in the late 1990s. People said that he's about 5 feet tall, he has large black eyes, spikes running down its back, and he has a very sharp long claw. The Chupacabra is blamed for literally sucking the life out of its livestock because it enjoys drinking the blood from unsuspecting animals.
Mysterious Chupacabra, an elusive animal said to feed off the blood of livestock. Well, that question has residents in Nelson County buzzing after a farmer captures the unusual animal.
If this is real, who's to say that he won't try to suck the blood from us, from humans?
This next video comes out of Puerto Rico, captured on a hotel security camera. Take a look at this. That was kinda nuts. Definitely not a gust of wind. Something very clearly tugged at her hair. We just can't see what it was. Now, this hotel was built over one that had burnt down in 1986, and it's become kinda infamous for its paranormal activity. Guests and staff will say they hear disembodied voices and footsteps or see weird shadows moving about, the usual ghostly flair. But this isn't just spooky, it's rude and incredibly annoying. Whoever this ghost is, they deserved to die in that fire if that's how they go around behaving. This next photo comes from Reddit user Dan_Cukes, who writes, "My brothers and I went hammock backpacking in Pennsylvania last weekend. I was going through photos from the trip and started editing this one for an Instagram post. It wasn't long until I realized there was this incredibly human-like apparition / figure behind the campfire smoke just watching us. We never saw anything the whole day and night we were there, and we were 5 miles or so deep in the woods with no one around. It was a mile or so away from a small overgrown trail, so we were confident we'd be left alone. We don't know what to think of this and are pretty shook up over it." This eerie image was posted online by Reddit user Druzy. Looking closely, you can see a pale face with its mouth wide open, peering out the bottom of the window. Now, on its own, the image isn't all that amazing, but if the story attached to it is to be believed, it definitely makes for a creepy post. Druzy wrote, "I took this picture sometime in 2013. We'd always experienced things in this apartment. Footsteps, doors closing, lights on and off, blinds always falling off the window, but we never actually saw anything. I was on my way to work one day when I noticed the blinds in my room pressed against the window as if someone was spreading them apart. I snapped a picture to show my mom later, like, hey, look, the blinds were weird, like someone was pressing against them. Never been able to explain the face in the window though. There was nobody home except for my dog." This is a photograph of a beastly animal that was burnt alive by this group of brave men, the Hodag. This story comes out of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, a small town in the north of the state. It all started back in the 1890s when a local timber cruiser named Eugene Shepard came out saying that he'd come across this terrifying creature in the woods. According to his description, it had, quote, the head of a frog, the grinning face of a giant elephant, thick short legs set off by huge claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long tail with spears at the end. Shepard claimed they had to use dynamite just to kill the beast. He'd even released a photo of the charred remains, calling it the, quote, fiercest, strangest, most frightening monster ever to set razor-sharp claws on the earth. In 1896, Shepard said that he captured another Hodag alive with help from a few bear wrestlers and a chloroform-soaked pole. He showed the thing off at the Oneida County Fair and at his own home, where he'd rigged it to move using wires just to scare people for fun. Yeah, the whole thing was a hoax. Shepard was kind of known as the town prankster, and the fun ended when scientists from the Smithsonian said they were coming to investigate. At that point, Shepard finally admitted he'd made the whole thing up. But by then, the Hodag had already become a local legend. And I just had to include this one. It was just too fun a story. So this farmer in India walked out onto his property to see this massive snake that had just finished swallowing one of his cows. Look at the giant bulge right in the middle of the snake's body. Instead of running away, the farmer actually grabbed a rope and lassoed the snake, just threw it right over the middle of his body like he was wrangling a steer. I don't know what kind of nerves that guy has, but if I were in his boots, I'd have quit farming on the spot. I would be halfway across the country before even thinking about coming back. The clip's been shared around a lot online, and people are still debating what kind of snake this was. Some say it might have been a green anaconda, which do get very big. Others think it was something even bigger though, maybe something not officially documented. Certainly looks like it to me, but thankfully I do not live in a country where there are massive poisonous snakes stalking the forests, so not too familiar.
5 on our list. This terrifying creature is pretty similar to the Yeti, except it's believed that he lives in the mountain between Czech Republic and Poland. Apparently he is extremely unpredictable, and you never know if he's going to ignore you or if you'll become his next snack. According to this folklore, one day he could choose to send an avalanche your way, or he could decide to save you from freezing temperatures. So if this hairy beast is actually alive, then it's probably a good idea to just avoid him at all costs. Oh, and the Kraken Notch is known to target unsuspecting hikers in the area, and he will always use force of nature to carry out his evil deeds. And now at number 4, we're talking about the Strigoi, which comes from Romania. Alright guys, brace yourselves because this next creature looks like my absolute nightmare coming to life. The Strigoi are actually pretty similar to vampires because they like to roam the streets at night, and they are also known as supernatural creatures. But are these things just scary monsters from folklore, or could they be real? The thing about the Strigoi is that they're able to shapeshift into any creature that they want. So locating them or hunting them would be next to impossible. I guess it would also be impossible to know whether or not they exist. And also they can make themselves invisible, so what do they crave the most? Yeah, you guessed it, it's blood. Actually back in 2004, a Romanian girl claimed that she was visited by a Strigoi, and it took the form of her dead uncle, so the family dug up his grave, cut his heart out, and burned it. And yeah, I guess that's the most logical thing to do. It's kind of weird. I don't recommend any of you guys doing that because that is absolutely wrong. And now at number 3, we have vampires from Eastern Europe. A scary European creature list could not be complete without some good old-fashioned vampires. Whenever I think of vampires, I'm thinking, you know, sharp fangs, their insatiable desire for blood, and their extremely cold and pale skin, and they sleep upside down. But are they just a myth? Or could real vampires be roaming the earth looking to sink their fangs in unexpected humans? I'm not gonna rule anything out. I mean, anything is plausible, right? Do you guys know how many people have reported seeing a vampire? Well, there are too many to count. So could all of them be making this up? I probably believe that there are some scary cannibalistic humans out there, but I don't know if I can get on board with real life vampires. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are vampires real? Number 2 takes us over to Precoliki in Romania. For those of you guys who aren't aware, Precoliki is basically a terrifying giant wolf that is hungry for some human flesh. And yeah, I didn't know what they were either. I did the Google search thing. Well, it is said that violent men become Precoliki after they die so that they can continue harming other humans. But many people believe in Romania, well, they have claimed that they were viciously attacked by an abnormal large and strong wolf. It's also said that these wolves attack silently and unexpectedly. Victims of these attacks also say that these wolves aren't ordinary wolves. So what are they? Well, they are something much more sinister, larger, and aggressive. That's why that there is a strong belief in Russia. There's a myth of the Precoliki could actually be a harsh reality. And if we aren't careful, then these things could easily kill us off, like one by one. And now number 1, we have the Fear-Liath. This is the name that is given to a 10-foot tall humanoid creature that haunts the 2nd tallest mountain in Scotland. So if you love to hike, and you're in Scotland, I'd recommend hiking either the 3rd tallest or the tallest mountain in Scotland. This hairy creature is known to cause an uncontrollable feeling of anxiety or panic among hikers who are near him. The first recorded sighting by a scientist was way back in 1890. He was so scared for his life that he didn't tell anyone about his encounter until 1925, which is 35 years later. But once he did, he discovered that others had the same experience he did. He realized that the Fear-Liath might actually be real, and he could be terrorizing and brutally killing hikers in Scotland. So hikers beware. Well, this is the end of the video. I just want to say thank you guys so much, and remember to tell me what you guys think of the merch in the comment section below. Hopefully the merch is already out because this video is pre-filmed. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. I will see you all in the next most amazing top 10 video.
At number 10, basement for rent. Now, I know what you're thinking. Browsing Craigslist for a new place to live can be quite the adventure. But imagine stumbling upon an ad with a single image, and that image is, well, less than welcoming. Picture this, a bald, pale figure with a gaping mouth filled with stained teeth. Not exactly the warm, cozy welcome you'd hope for in your search for a new abode. This creature, if we can even call it that, appears to be targeting a specific family. Your family, in fact. It promises you the perfect basement for rent, conveniently located just a short walk away through your kitchen and down to the depths of your uncharted sub-basement. Now, why would anyone even consider this offer, you might ask? Well, this creature's invitation has a very ominous tone. Quote, "The space is perfect for you, specifically to rent," it beckons. And just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, it seems to know quite a bit about your family, your husband Jeremy and 2 little ones. But the real kicker is the ultimatum it presents. Come downstairs today or I'll come see you instead. If you're enjoying the video so far, you can support our channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. It helps us out a lot, and I personally really appreciate it. At number 9, the nighttime creeps. First up is the blue nighttime creep, a humanoid form. Its gaping mouth stretches wide, revealing a toothless smile framed by parched, fleshy lips. The nose is uncannily animalistic. Its eyes, bloodshot and wide, seem to roll back into its head, a thin veil of sanity separating the irises from the void. And the tears of that red fluid us humans carry around internally cascade down its face, some ending up in that twisted grin. But he isn't alone, as next we encounter the green nighttime creep, a portrait of decay, an aged visage without eyes, just empty sockets oozing eeriness. One hole, unnaturally enlarged, hints at past trauma. The grin here too, unmistakably wide, toothless, but almost deliberately contorted into a semblance of mirth. Their origins and intentions elude us, shrouded to the enigma of a single image labeled nighttime. Ghostly apparitions, perhaps reminiscent of departed souls trapped in the perpetual twilight. While their pasts are obscured, the aura of hauntings clings to them. At number 8, the Dover Demon. Originating from the depths of Massachusetts, the Dover Demon made its debut during the unnerving 1970s. Witnesses stepped forward, their stories painting the portrait of a humanoid figure with a large head, oddly disproportionate to its nimble, skinny body. Striding on 2 legs is its norm, yet scuttling on all 4s isn't beneath it. And don't even get me started on those blinding white eyes and dreadful smile. Now, despite what the title of this video says, the Dover Demon is an actual cryptid that has been spotted in the town of Dover, Massachusetts, and was the subject of an intensive scare back in the 70s when witnesses came forward with sightings. The demon is always spotted at the edge of the forest surrounding the town, so be wary the next time one of y'all from Dover goes for a nature walk. At number 7, the head. No, not your head, a floating human head draped in long dark hair with eyes that are nothing but holes, and a mouth contorted into a wicked downward grin. If that description alone doesn't send a chill down your spine, just wait until you see the photo. Editor, if you will. Ugh. According to Trevor himself, the head isn't just an artistic nightmare. It's a malevolent spirit that preys on our most valuable moments. Ever heard of sleep paralysis? Yeah, that's the kind of territory we're delving into here. The head supposedly feeds on the anxiety and dread that this phenomenon brings about. It can mimic sleep paralysis experiences, playing tricks on their victims' minds, making them question their own sanity. Trevor's notes suggest that this creature is cautious, careful not to expose itself too much. Yet, if someone else manages to convince the already terrorized victim that they too have witnessed this nightmare, the creature's power apparently takes a nosedive. It's as if it thrives on the individual's isolation and fear, and a little bit of skepticism from the outside world throws a wrench in its plans. And here's the cherry on top of this grotesque sundae. The head was never human. Rather, it's always just been that upside down head. So the next time you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night unable to move, feeling an eerie presence in the room, just remember, the head may not be real, but the fear it conjures surely is. Sweet dreams. At number 6 is Siren Head, a creature that sparks fear with its towering frame adorned with sirens. The chilling saga began in 1966 when a family in the Arizona desert captured the creature near a graveyard. Fast forward to 1995 and a hiking group encountered the Siren Head in the woods, mimicking their voices before snatching them away, leaving one survivor named Chad traumatized. Siren Head's sinister presence isn't just limited to eyewitness accounts. A photo surfaced from Indiana coinciding with citizen disappearances. Yet ancient rock paintings from across North America hint at its age-old existence. One eerie possibility is its urban camouflage transforming into streetlights to deceive its prey. As a predator, Siren Head thrives in a rural setting, using mimicry to draw victims. Its ambush tactics involve luring prey with sounds before striking. With a sonic arsenal, it imitates voices and unleashes terrifying attacks. Its terrifying speed, over 24 miles per hour on 2 feet, and 258 miles per hour on all fours, adds more to the horror, not to mention just how massive this thing is, running on all fours towards you. Ugh. The fate of its victims remains shrouded in mystery, amplifying the dread of encountering this nightmarish entity.
Coming in at number 4, we have SCP-001J. This one is one of the most stressful SCPs I have ever read about. Just thinking about it makes my anxiety soar through the roof. SCP-001J is just a button. That's it. What's the big deal? Well, if you press this button, it will bring the end of the world. It will actually cause the world to collapse onto itself. It's speculated that pressing the button will restart the universe or end existence. That doesn't really sound very fun. On top of all of this, for some reason when people are around the button, they have the urge to press the button. I don't know how strong the urge is, but it's strong enough that this thing is locked away at the bottom of the ocean with robotic guards all around it that will kill anything organic that gets too close. Well, that's what the SCP Foundation says. What if this button is just any button? It just hasn't been pressed yet. It could be out in the world, and it's only a matter of time before someone presses it and we all die. Coming in at number 3 is SCP-2598. This SCP will forever go down in my books as one of the greatest of all time. I mean, it's cool when an SCP can take over the world, or is some force that will kill you at any moment, or has the ability to reshape reality, but it's even better when an SCP is just a dumb little bug. This SCP is a moth, and it has a little hat on, and it communicates in Morse code, and the whole time it talks to you is just trying to change the conversation back to the fact that it wants to sell you this little hat that it wears. Now, here's the thing. This could totally be real because how many of you out there speak Morse code? Not many of you. So a moth could be trying to talk to you in Morse code and you wouldn't even know. On top of that, you probably just think it's a gross bug and you wouldn't even give it the opportunity to finish its sentence. Yeah, dude, this thing could be out there. Coming in at number 2, we have SCP-5106. This is an SCP that I recently put on my list of newest SCPs. I love this SCP so much because it's hilarious. I also think it fits perfectly on this list because, well, just hear me out. So if you didn't watch the video about the newest SCPs, this SCP is a goose that can talk. It has full comprehension of the English language and it can have deep, rich conversations with people. On top of this goose has the ability to control other animals. Now, we don't know if the goose can control other animals or if it can just talk to them and they understand what it says and then they listen to him, or if it has some sort of influence over the animals. Now, the reason that the SCP is on this list is because geese can sometimes be too smart for their own good. They are crafty little and it would seem that they can coordinate other geese to poop on your car. How many times do you come out and find bird turds all over your vehicle? And coming at the number 1 spot, we have SCP-027. This is one of the most disgusting SCPs I have ever heard about, and it could literally be any dead body that has ever existed. The Vermin God starts off as a virus. People think it could be something mystical, people really aren't sure. It will infect a person and they will have the worst possible thing imaginable happen to them. Their body will be infested with rats that will slowly make a home inside them and kill them from the inside out. By the time this person dies, generations of rats will have made a home inside their body. And I thought getting a tapeworm would have been bad. Well, after you die, the rats will continue to use your body as a nice 2-bedroom home, and now insects will get involved. They will constantly be swarming around your body, and if anyone tries to get close enough to inspect the dead body with the mystical rodents living inside there, they will be swarmed by insects until they back off or are killed. That is a pretty horrible thing.
At number 5, Cartoon Cat. Step into a realm where reality and animation merge into nightmares. Among Trevor Henderson's horrors, meet Cartoon Cat, a malevolent entity in constant flux. Imagine a feline-headed humanoid, a blend of vintage cartoons and grotesque realism. It shifts in size, form, and mood, and its unsettling eyes and jagged teeth evoke dread. Cartoon Cat tricks with a cartoon mascot guise, but its intentions are pure evil. It haunts an abandoned dirt mall, unmatched in malevolence. Belief acts as a portal, allowing it to breach our world through old media, leaving only horror in its wake. At number 4, the Giants. The Giants are an unsettling group of creatures separate from beings like Cartoon Cat and Siren Head, each of whom can also grow to gigantic proportions. Since 2018, these enigmatic entities have been depicted through Henderson's distinctive found footage style. Giants come in various forms, animal-like, humanoid, and unusual. Identification involves their massive size, thematic captions, and distinctive characteristics. These creatures originate from different dimensions, possibly summoned by moon worshippers. Their motives remain mysterious, involving collecting or eliminating humans. Giants possess eerie abilities, defying physics with gravity manipulation and misgeneration. Elemental and supernatural traits add to their intrigue, and over time, humanity has adapted to giants through containment fields, evacuation sites, and warnings. But an unsettling coexistence eventually forms, leaving their true purpose and origins enigmatic. At number 3, the Hokkaido Hand. Deep within the forest of Hokkaido, Japan, something unnerving lurks, the Hokkaido Hands. Imagine stumbling upon a cluster of pale, bony, human-like arms emerging from the shadows. These eerie creations, conjured by Trevor Henderson, have a chilling agenda, hunting, luring, and devouring unsuspecting souls. But there's also a chilling mutant theory suggesting that they might be a result of irradiated little people morphing into a haunted nightmare. So if you find yourself in the woods, watch where you step. Those branches might not be branches after all. They could be the Hokkaido Hands waiting to snatch their next victim into the darkness. At number 2, Long Horse. Meet Long Horse, not your ordinary four-legged friend. Picture a horse skull fused with an endlessly stretching neck. Long Horse isn't just a spooky spectacle, it's a disaster harbinger, a guardian according to ancient cave art. Hearing its neck crack or seeing it stretch is like a cosmic red flag for impending doom. But don't blame Long Horse himself, more like a paranormal PSA. But here's the kicker, Long Horse actually has a friendly personality, and despite its eerie vibe, it's weirdly friendly and adores apples. Offer one and watch it decay. A twisted cosmic thank you. Oh, and it's also a dimension hopper, invading dreams and physics with its bendy neck. And at number 1, the bridge worm. Driving down a deserted highway at night, you glimpse movement underneath the bridge. A bridge worm. As a baby, it hides under bridges, luring prey with a fleshy flat mimicry and a friendly face, then unveiling a grin with 36 human-like teeth. Its real face, eerily human, has mangled bouncing eyes. These creatures prowl bridges and tunnels at night, hunting with a nightmare strategy, and if that's not enough to haunt your dreams, they eventually transform into the more sinister highway worms, shedding their limbs and deceptive face. Beware the hidden horrors beneath the bridges. It seems sometimes the most terrifying things are the ones we dare not conjure into reality.
Coming in at number 10, we have SCP-038. Let's start off this list with something crazy. This is a new SCP for me, and it has been nicknamed the cloning tree. Anything you throw at this tree will get cloned. If you want 2 dogs, throw one of your poochies at this thing. You want more beer? Throw some beer on this bad boy. I wonder if liquids would work. Like, could you pour water onto this tree and have it clone water, and then you could have more clean water for all the people in the world? That would be amazing. Well, here's the thing. There are rumors that there are more resources in Antarctica than any other place in the world. So what if they got this tree up there and that thing is just hiding up there, juicing out a bunch of stuff that they will use as resources later to dish out to the whole planet? Or the Illuminati is using this to make their grand army to take over the world. Coming in at number 9, we have SCP-811. What's going on down under the sea? Do we really know? It seems like every year there's some new strange creature that's been found underwater, and we have no idea how many of them there actually are, or if they will try to come to the surface and destroy our whole planet. They could start polluting the air the way we've been polluting the water, but we are already doing that, so we might not even notice. But the mysteries underwater can make this SCP real, because this SCP is basically a mermaid that is chilling down underwater with some green scales. With all the crazy stuff going on in the world, I would not be surprised to find out that mermaids are real. I mean, the CIA just announced that UFOs are real, so that could mean that aliens are real, and that is just the info that they have gave us. There could be aliens already on the planet that are hanging out with mermaids and all love watching The Office as much as humans. That would be hilarious. Coming in number 8, we have SCP-457. This SCP is insane. If it was left to its own devices, it would cover the world in fire, and we would all be cooked to death and slowly die. That doesn't sound like the way I want to die. I was hoping I could go out in an ice cream eating accident while swimming around in millions of dollars. But this SCP starts out as a little flame, and then it consumes things, and it will get bigger and bigger until it's about the size of a person, and then it will split into two and continue to spread. Which makes me think, how are stars created? They're massive balls of fire. Maybe there's a bunch of SCPs floating around in space, and they keep consuming things until they grow to a massive size. Maybe the sun will consume Mercury one day and then split into two, and it'll get so hot we'll all be burned to death before I can have my billion-dollar ice cream accident. Maybe I'm just stretching a little bit for this one. Coming in at number 7, we have SCP-1. If you type SCP-1 into the SCP Foundation, you will get a list of a bunch of different SCPs. No one really knows what SCP-1 is, and everyone has a different opinion as to what SCP-1 is. So, it could be anything, dude. Is your cup acting weird? Could be SCP-1. Did you get a bad haircut? That could be SCP-1. Did you have a weird dream where you got casted in a movie with Jennifer Aniston and the two of you became friends? That literally could be SCP-1 just chilling in your brain doing some weird stuff. Because this SCP has so many variables, it might be walking around the world right now. Basically, you should always be looking over your shoulder because this SCP could be real, and the Illuminati is always watching. Coming in at number 6, we have SCP-2059. I mean, we already talked about things at the bottom of the ocean. This could easily be down there, sucking up a bunch of life, absorbing things into its massive body. If you don't know about this SCP, it's a massive blob of organic material. If you touch it, it will absorb you into it and you will become one with the blob. You'll be dead, but it'll use your body to become larger. I wouldn't be surprised if something like this was at the bottom of the ocean. Coming in at number 5, we have SCP-106, one of the most famous SCPs. It's terrifying on every level. This thing is terrifying to look at. It's an old man whose body is decaying. It's super strong. It eats people. It will disembowel you, and it can teleport. Also, it has a pocket dimension that it takes stuff to, like people that it keeps for food. So this thing could be chilling in its pocket dimension right now, and we wouldn't even know. Well, that's terrifying to think about.
Flying into number 5, we have the Mothman. If you're having problems picturing what this might look like, because I'm thinking like the Mothman, a man with like butterfly wings. Well, this is what it looks like. We have a giant terrifying human with glowing red eyes and wings. Now that I think about it, the Mothman kind of sounds like a demon. Back in 1966 in West Virginia, lots of people started reporting seeing the Mothman in the flesh. Everyone described him, the exact same way, and for months, more and more people reported sightings, but they all suddenly just stopped in December of 1967. So did the Mothman become extinct, or is he just hiding himself a lot better? But wait, get this. Before the last reporting, a bridge in the US cracked, which sent dozens of cars to fall in the river. When the bridge fell, 46 people died, and the deaths were immediately connected to the Mothman because, well, people saw a strange large creature with wings and red eyes right before the bridge collapsed. I mean, coincidence? Maybe, but maybe not. The Jersey Devil breaks his way onto this list at number 4. Well, let me show you guys a picture of what the heck I am talking about. Is this real life right now? This ugly monster is said to have the wings of a bat, the face of a horse, and the tail of a lizard. So yeah, it's safe to say that you would never want to run into this hideous creature in a dark alley, but if you live in New Jersey, that might be a scary reality for you. Oh, and yeah, let's not forget about the small arms with sharp claws, creepy hooves, and his forked tail. People who have apparently seen the Jersey Devil have said that he moves really fast and he is capable of yelling a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. Should I demonstrate what that scream sounds like? Nah, I don't want your ears to start bleeding. Number 3, we have the Bunyip. Don't be fooled by its name. It actually might sound like a cute variation of a bunny, but trust me, this thing will haunt your worst nightmares. No one knows exactly what the Bunyip looks like, but everyone knows that they should avoid it at all costs. It's known to swallow children and livestock whole if they get too close to the edge of the water. This creature is an aquatic mammal, and it will release a loud shriek right before it pounces on its victim and devour them. The Bunyip was reportedly spotted in Australia by Aboriginals, and it was last seen in the mid-1800s. Some people who think that this is just a hoax have gone too close to the riverbed and they were never seen or heard from again. So would you guys want to risk it? I don't think so. Up next, number 2, we have the Dover Demon. This creepy guy is a really famous cryptid that has been spotted around Dover, Massachusetts. He's being described as a gray or white creature that has large glowing eyes and abnormally long fingers. He can walk on 2 feet, but as creepy as it might sound, he prefers running on all 4s. The first sighting was in 1977, when 2 different people reported seeing the Dover Demon in different parts of the town. They both drew sketches of it, and both sketches almost looked identical. I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking he might be real, and if that's the case, I feel bad for you guys who live out there in Massachusetts. Be careful. Sinking its way into our number 1 spot, we have the Kraken. According to the folklore, the Kraken, well, it's a giant sea monster that dwells off the coast of Norway and Greenland.
What's that? Holy moly, what was that? Whoa!
The legend of the Kraken has been around since the 18th century, and apparently sailors who spotted this beast said that it was a giant squid that was so large that when any part of its body was stuck out of the water, it looked like a floating island. But that's not all. Sailors have said that the Kraken would use its large tentacles to engulf ships and drag them down into the icy water. This monster is also known to cause a deadly whirlpool just by submerging itself underwater. Paleontologists have argued that during the prehistoric times, the ocean was once home to 100-foot long squids, and they would feed on whale-sized animals. So could the Kraken actually be real? Well, you know what? I'll let you guys be the judge of that.
This encounter shook a team of trained soldiers who were certain nothing human could survive outside that night. In 2004, a group of United States Air Force security personnel stationed near a remote radar site in Alaska were sent to investigate a strange alarm triggered on the perimeter fence. Temperatures were brutally low, it was well below freezing, and the wind chill made it feel like the kind of cold that could kill someone in minutes. As a Canadian, I know this kind of cold very well. The team drove toward the section of the fence that triggered the alarm and saw the snow on the ground disturbed by what looked like footprints. But these were not animal tracks. They were the size and shape of human footprints. They continued in a straight line right toward the fence, stopping directly below the alarm sensor. And here is where things made no sense. The team used thermal scopes to look around. At those temperatures, anything alive should glow bright in a thermal viewer, but there was nothing. No animal, no person, no heat at all. Yet something had clearly walked through the snow moments earlier. When they followed the trail, they discovered that the prints continued beyond the fence and then simply stopped in the middle of an open field. No blood, no body, nothing. This incident was reported internally and discussed by the team for years. Many of them believed they had seen the trail of something that looked human but gave off no heat and somehow vanished in impossible conditions. People in northern Siberia swear a tall, silent figure follows them through blizzards and disappears when approached. In the Yamalo-Nenets region of Siberia, reindeer herders have reported a frightening winter phenomenon for generations. During long migrations across the tundra, herders sometimes notice a tall, dark figure following them from a distance. At first, it looks like a person walking alone in temperatures that should be lethal within minutes. Researchers interviewed several herders who have described the exact same thing. Locals believe this creature only appears in deep winter and is a warning to never travel alone. A police officer insists he saw something that looked almost human crawling on all fours across a frozen Long Island shoreline. In January 2015, a veteran police officer from Suffolk County, New York, was on patrol near a quiet stretch of Winter Beach when he saw something moving slowly across the ice near the waterline. At first, he assumed it was a deer that had wandered too far out, but as he got closer, he noticed the movements were wrong. The thing was crawling on all fours like a person pretending to walk like an animal. He spotlighted it and saw a pale, almost gray body that looked thin and elongated. It did not react to the light, it just crawled across the ice, then rose up on 2 legs. The officer said it was at least 6 feet tall, but completely hairless. When he tried to get closer to it, it dropped back down and crawled toward the water. Then it slid underneath the frozen edge and disappeared. The officer filed a report with his department describing the encounter, but nothing ever came of it. Residents living near a lake in Iceland claim something massive moves beneath the ice during the coldest months. The Lagerflot worm is one of Iceland's oldest legends, but starting in 2012, locals began reporting very real sightings beneath the lake's iced-over surface. Multiple videos show a long, twisting shape moving under the water, even when the surface is frozen almost solid. One farmer recalled seeing the creature break through thinner ice near his field one winter afternoon. He said it was about 30 feet long and moved with slow, undulating motions like a giant eel. The Icelandic government even assembled a commission to analyze one of the videos. After reviewing the footage, the commission declared the sighting, quote, credible, and said the object appeared to be a living creature. While some believe it may be a massive eel or even a rope caught in water currents, winter sightings continue to be reported. Locals insist the creature is real and becomes most active during intense cold when the lake freezes over. A group of miners swore they saw a towering creature step out of a snowstorm and walk along a ridge before disappearing. In 2008, several miners working near Keno City in the Yukon Territory took shelter inside their trailer when a sudden whiteout hit. Visibility dropped to nothing, but as the storm started to calm, one of the miners looked out a small window and saw a massive figure walking along a ridge above their camp. He called the others over and they all watched as the figure took long, slow steps through deep snow. They estimated it was at least 8 feet tall. The miners said it seemed to be covered in dark hair, but moved too smoothly and too quietly to be a bear. One miner grabbed a camera, but the lens immediately fogged from the temperature difference, and he only captured a blurry outline. The next morning, they climbed the ridge and found huge footprints spaced much farther apart than any human stride. Photographs of the prints circulated online, but no official explanation was offered. Local First Nation communities noted the description closely matched long-standing sightings of a winter creature known as the Nukla. A fisherman pulled something from a frozen lake that he insisted was not a fish and not from any species he knew. On a remote lake in Russia in 2017, an experienced ice fisherman felt something powerful tug at his line. He assumed he had hooked a large pike, but when he reeled the catch toward the hole, something pale surfaced. He described the creature as long and thin with a flattened head and small dark eyes. It writhed in a way he said was nothing like a fish. When he tried to pull it out of the hole, the creature let out a high-pitched sound and thrashed violently until the line snapped. It slipped back under the ice and vanished. He was so disturbed that he left the lake immediately. He later brought several other fishermen to the spot who all agreed they had never heard of anything like it living in that lake. The story spread through local newspapers and remains one of the strangest winter fishing encounters ever documented in the region. 2 drivers witnessed a pale animal standing upright in the middle of a snow-covered highway. In December 1997, a man driving near Elie, Minnesota, encountered something so strange that he pulled over and refused to continue his trip for over an hour. As he came around a bend, he saw what he thought was a person standing in the middle of the road. As he slowed down, he noticed the figure was much too thin to be human and unnaturally tall. The skin was almost white and the arms hung down lower than a human's would. When his headlights fully illuminated the figure, it slowly turned its head toward him. He panicked and reversed away as fast as he could. Moments later, another vehicle came from the opposite direction and reported seeing something tall run into the woods. Both drivers independently described the same creature. Park rangers searched the area but found only long, narrow footprints in the snow that disappeared near a cluster of trees. To this day, the sightings remain unsolved. A research team spotted something climbing out of a crack in the ice before disappearing into a blizzard. During a 1994 scientific expedition to East Antarctica, a small team was traveling along a ridge when they saw motion at the mouth of a crevasse. At first, they thought it was another researcher climbing up, but the shape moved strangely. It was low to the ground and crawling in a jerky motion. One scientist used binoculars and immediately told the others to keep their distance. He said the figure was hairless and extremely thin, with limbs longer than normal for a human. The creature crawled along the edge of the crevasse, then suddenly stood up. The team estimated that it was over 7 feet tall. Before they could take a photograph, the wind picked up and a wall of blowing snow obscured the view. When the blizzard passed, the creature was gone. A family captured video of a creature watching them from the trees during a winter holiday. In 2010, a family staying at a remote cabin in northern Sweden filmed a strange creature lurking near the tree line. The father had gone outside to record the heavy snowfall when he noticed a tall shape standing still behind the trees. At first, he assumed it was a person hiking nearby, but the shape was too still and too thin. When he zoomed in, the figure stepped back behind a tree as if hiding. The father called his family outside and they all saw the shape moving slowly through the woods. When they tried to approach, the figure slipped deeper into the forest and then vanished. Swedish authorities reviewed the video but offered no clear explanation. A driver swears a creature crawled across the road during a whiteout and stood up taller than any person before fleeing. In January 2019, a man driving alone near the small town of Delta Junction, Alaska, got caught in a sudden blizzard. He slowed to a crawl as visibility dropped. While inching forward, he saw something low to the ground moving across the snowy road. He assumed it was a wolf, but as it came closer, he realized the shape was wrong. It did crawl on all fours, but the limbs were incredibly long. When it reached the other side of the road, the creature rose to 2 legs and towered over the snowbank. The man said it had no fur and looked almost skeletal. It did not look at him, but loped away in a strange, lurching gait until it disappeared into whiteout conditions. The man reported the encounter to state troopers who checked the road the next morning. They found long tracks spaced far apart and not shaped like any known animal prints. The man later said the thing he saw looked like something designed to move through deep snow, but not meant to be seen.
At number 10, we have the Loch Ness Monster. Everyone's been talking about this Loch Ness Monster. Has anyone actually seen it? Nessie is a lake creature that is said to lurk in the depths of Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. This lake is notorious for being murky and frigid, which is perfect for a creature like this. The Loch Ness Lake is up to 755 feet deep, which gives Nessie plenty of place to hide. For years, there have been so much debate on whether or not the Loch Ness Monster actually exists. There are even people who have said that they've seen the creature with their own eyes, and then of course there are all those pictures on the internet. But as it turns out, Nessie might be real after all. A major scientific study was conducted to find out the truth. Scientists from New Zealand took DNA from creatures that have lived in the lake. When they analyzed the samples, they found out that there might be evidence that the Loch Ness Monster really does exist. Hundreds of thousands of people travel to Loch Ness every single year in hopes that they're going to be able to catch a glimpse of Nessie himself. And you know what, maybe one day we can say for certain if, it actually exists or not. Next up, number 9, we have the Black Shuck. Take a look at this thing. The Black Shuck is a ghostly looking creature that resembles a huge black dog, except it has devilish red or green eyes. According to local reports, the Black Shuck is known to lurk in the countryside of East Anglia in England. But be careful, if you spot this beast, it is believed that you will die shortly after, or you'll become seriously sick. But one thing is for certain, if you manage to look this creature in the eye, you will for sure die. According to one old town legend, in 1577, this giant hellhound killed 2 people who were outside of a church, and then just 12 miles away, it killed 2 more people. Clearly this thing is more terrifying than Cujo, and I really hope this monster doesn't actually exist, but unfortunately I can't say for certain that it doesn't. Number 8, domovoi. Let me take you guys over to Russia, where they believe that every house has a domovoi. These are small hairy creatures that are barely seen, but everyone believes that they're probably living behind your stove. I couldn't believe this one. Well, the goal of the domovoi is to maintain order and peace throughout your house. So basically, if you treat them with respect, they will help you out with chores, but if you act rudely, violently, or if you are messy, the domovoi will resort to poltergeist activities and they'll really mess things up for you. They might wake you up in the middle of the night, break things, or disturb your sleep. If you don't keep up with their demands, they will basically make your life a living hell and wreak havoc on you and your home. They say that when people die in their sleep or from natural causes, it was actually the domovoi killing them. Yeah, I'd probably make sure that you mop and turn the dishwasher on tonight. I don't think any of us want the domovoi to get really upset. Loup-garou makes it onto this list at number 7. This is the French version of the werewolf that I am so pronouncing the name wrong. However, it is much more sinister. This creature can change from a human into a wolf whenever it wants, and unlike a typical werewolf, it doesn't depend on the moon's phases. So basically this thing can terrorize and hurt humans whenever they feel like it. When the loup-garou transforms into a werewolf, they are still able to think and rationalize like humans, so this ability makes them incredibly smart and way more dangerous. Oh, and get this, they can also turn into a dog, calf, pig, cat, or even owl. So because of this humanoid creature is able to transform into a bunch of different animals, how can you rule out its existence? The simple answer is we cannot. Next up, number 6, we have Quadramentian. This scary creature is believed to be living in the lakes and seas throughout Luxembourg. He is said to be lurking in the water and he will spare children who come too close. Remind me to never go swimming in Luxembourg ever, but wait, there's more horror to this story. It doesn't end there. Apparently he can also appear in bathrooms, bathtubs, and toilets. I mean, wait, what? Is this real life right now? What are you doing lurking in the toilet? Do you know what I'm about to do? They are also known to be extremely aggressive, and they will stalk their victims until they have dragged them beneath the water. Pretty terrifying if you ask me. They carry a large spear that they use to impale their victims, and people believe that this hideous creature is the reason behind a lot of the unexplained drownings that happen in the lake and seas in Luxembourg. The Krakenot's tail takes us up to number 5.
So this guy caught something really spooky on camera while motorbiking. TikToker Moat Owens was riding through a forest trail as the sun was setting. He was pretty deep into the trail, which he said seemed to go on forever. And he comes to a fork in the path. Then he notices something strange. It's eerily quiet.
Holy crap, dude, this trail going on forever.
He sits there for a few moments, trying to decide which path to take, before he spots something poking out of the brush. Take a look at this. As soon as he sees the thing, he rightly zips back in the direction he came from, but not before struggling to get his bike started like he's stuck in a monster movie or one of those awful nightmares where you're being chased only to find that you've lost the ability to run. Pretty awful. A man named Jose in Fresno, California had a security camera outside his home, mainly to keep an eye on people messing with his front lawn. Well, one night his dog started barking like crazy, so he went to check the camera footage, and what he saw completely threw him. It was a thin, pale white figure with long legs gliding across the lawn. It had no arms, no real body, it was just the two long, tube-like legs and something small connecting them at the top. It didn't move like a person or an animal, mainly because it didn't look like a person or an animal. Jose was freaked out and immediately woke up his brother. According to Jose, his brother went outside and found weird little footprints in the dirt. But when investigators finally got there, it had rained and whatever physical evidence was there was now gone. This was the first ever footage of what's been referred to as the Fresno Nightcrawler, or crawlers, because some folks have seen multiple of them at once. In July of 2022, a home security camera in Moorhead, Kentucky picked up something really weird. Something that looked like a pale, almost human-shaped figure moving through someone's backyard late at night. The creature was thin, with long arms and legs, and no visible clothes or fur. It didn't run or walk like a person, it just kind of crept through the yard in this slow, eerie motion. The homeowner released the clip online, and it was shared around everywhere, even news sites. A lot of people said it looked like some kind of rake, Others say this one has a bit of an alien vibe to it. The video was picked up by local news, including the Tribune, which simply labeled it as a bizarre backyard sighting. Nobody came forward with any clear explanation, and wildlife officials didn't release any statements about what it could have been. Internet theories went all over the place with this one, from a deformed deer walking upright, which is a bit of a stretch, to a sick person wandering around naked. That's much more plausible. Or maybe something straight out of The Descent. In October of 2023, two passengers were riding the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, a scenic train that runs through the Colorado wilderness, when one of them spotted something strange walking along a hillside. They pulled out their phone and started recording. What they caught was this figure walking upright across the slope. It wasn't a person in hiking gear. It was tall, bulky, covered in what looked like brown fur, turning at one point to look back toward the train. Some commenters pointed out that the remote location made this very unlikely that anyone would be out there pulling a prank. Others just said, well, it kind of just does look like a costume. But the video made national news and reopened the Bigfoot debate once again. A lot of folks also pointed out how well this thing moved on such steep terrain. For believers, this is one of the better modern Bigfoot sightings. Clear daylight, open view, but like always, what do you all think? In 2019, near Sioux Lookout in Ontario, Canada, Gino Mikas, an experienced hunter, was with his wife and grandson grouse hunting when they heard this eerie howl coming from deep in the trees. Take a listen to this. Now, thinking it might be a moose, Mikas started recording with his phone, but as the howls continued, and they do go on throughout the entire clip, it growing louder and more aggressive, it was very clear that this wasn't anything he'd heard before. Now, keep this in mind, guys. He's been hunting all his life, and he said the sound didn't match anything native to the area. Could this be a legit recording of Bigfoot? Two friends were hiking in British Columbia when they captured something they couldn't quite explain. They spotted this figure walking upright across a snowy ridge. It's distant, but the people behind the camera say they had a much clearer view in person, and what they saw didn't make any sense. See, the terrain was tough. Deep snow, steep drop-offs, no obvious trail, but the figure was moving so smoothly and quickly, without snowshoes, without a backpack, and seemingly wearing all one color. Now, anyone who has ever tried to walk through that kind of snow knows that it's nearly impossible without gear. They said the thing was bipedal, fast, and didn't look like a bear. They admitted the most logical explanation might be it was just some lone, seriously hardcore hiker, but what if that wasn't the case? The closest route down the mountain was a 300-meter sheer drop, and they didn't have climbing gear to follow it. So whether it was a Sasquatch, a fearless snow hiker, or something else, it left them unsettled enough to post online, and a number of people have commented about how much distance this thing manages to cover on such harsh terrain in such a short span of time. Known locally as the Lagerflot worm, this creature is Iceland's answer to the Loch Ness Monster. Said to live in the icy depths of Lake Lagerflot, the beast is described as massive, up to 40 feet long, and not sleek like your typical idea of a sea serpent. Instead, it's said to have a series of large, visible humps. Reports of the creature go all the way back to 1345, and sightings have trickled in over the centuries. In 1963, the head of Iceland's National Forest Service claimed that he saw it with his own eyes. In 1998, a teacher and a group of students said they saw it as well. The most interesting incident might have happened in 1983 when a group of workers were laying a telephone cable near the eastern shore of the lake, and during their depth measurements, they detected this massive moving object deep beneath the surface. When they later retrieved the cable, it was snapped, and right at the spot where it had rested on whatever that thing was. Then in 2012, the story blew up again when a 67-year-old farmer recorded this video of something snake-like twisting and swimming in a river which flows directly into the lake. Next up is this clip here, the Harley Hoffman Bigfoot footage. I remember seeing this clip years ago. It was edited into an interview with Hoffman himself, who's a well-known Bigfoot enthusiast. Now, for a while I couldn't find the footage again, but recently it did pop back up. This is actual footage he claims to have shot, and honestly, it is pretty solid. You get a decent look at the creature. It doesn't come across like some dude stumbling around in a Party City gorilla suit. There's what looks like actual muscle definition under the fur, kind of like what you see in the famous Patterson-Gimlin footage. Now, yeah, the camera is a little shaky, but I mean, come on, if you suddenly ran into this thing in the woods, are you really gonna whip out this perfect, smooth, Kubrick-style tracking shot? I doubt it. The shakiness actually makes it feel more real, like something someone would capture in the middle of a, like, legit what the hell am I looking at moment. Now let's talk about the 1992 Grassman sighting. Grassman is the name Ohio locals have given to this big ape-like creature that's supposedly been spotted all over the state. This particular video was taken in eastern Ohio by a guy named Don Keating. He managed to capture what looked like a large hairy figure walking into the forest. The footage is of course super grainy, and he's pretty far away, so no, it's not crystal clear or anything, but there's definitely something moving through the trees. It's not the strongest video evidence out there. It's hard to tell exactly what you're looking at, but this video was passed around a lot back then, and there was a ton of debate surrounding it. That always makes things interesting. Plus, I just have a fondness for old VHS footage like this. It's just got this creepy, it adds something to it, I don't know. Now, what's interesting is that Keating said he was a skeptic before shooting this, but after the encounter, he changed his tune. And finally, we've got the Salt Fork creature, another supposed clip of the Ohio Grassman. This video was uploaded to the YouTube channel We Do It Outdoors, and even though it's only about 10 minutes long, it is packed with material. So two guys were exploring Salt Fork State Park, also in eastern Ohio, when they started hearing weird noises, and that's when they caught footage of something big and hairy moving around in the trees. They follow this thing for a while and get some pretty cool footage, more than you usually get with videos like this. Now, if this is a costume, it's a pretty good one. The creature looks bulky. It's not like one of those flimsy, off-the-shelf gorilla suits, and what really makes this one stand out is that the footage is clear. There's no camera shaking, or very little. There's no ridiculous filter to make it harder to see what's going on. You even hear some strange vocalizations in the background, which just adds to the whole thing.